Live from Mortgage One Studios, Russ Clark with you on a Monday morning. Good Monday. Good morning. Quite a few things over the weekend. The fair wrapped up, the Yuma Fair. I didn't go. Very unusual. I like going. I enjoy it. Just trying to get some more rest from that minor surgery I had, but it does wear me out, or it has. I think I'm getting a lot better. Uh, the doctors told me to take it easy for 90 days or to expect, some issues in 90 days. Is it healing? And I ignored him and I didn't think I'd have to, but I do. So I did. I did. I behaved. I didn't go see the kids with the pigs and all that kind of stuff, which I normally do. I normally do. And of course it's Helen's grandkids. They're active and I think it's 4-H. It's one of them. Yeah, they're doing a lot with that, and it's great for them. And it is really good. I like Yuma and that we do all that. Over the weekend, a lot of news in Iran, and I want to kind of start with that. This morning, we all know the F-15 got shot down. Gosh, was that Friday? It got shot down. I mean, it was down some time ago, and the pilot was immediately rescued. I say immediately, within hours. Within hours was rescued during the daytime. Highly unusual that rescue crews go in there in daytime in enemy territory like that. And it's right on the coast. It wasn't very far inland, but it was inland in Iran. But it was, and I know Iran has communications problems, or some of the communications down, some of that. They're not going to fly there from Tehran and fly over there, which was quite a distance. But they did have troops on the ground hunting. Well, not just for the pilot, and I'm assuming they were hunting for the pilot, but for the weapons system officer. They keep saying two pilots. The weapons systems officer is on the plane. Yeah, they can take the controls. They have the ability, but they're not the pilot. They're the weapons systems officer. I had a friend flying in the Air Force. A very close friend in high school. He went to the Air Force Academy and did all that, and he became a pilot. And I graduated from a local college, and he wanted me to be a weapons systems officer. He would request me. I guess they had that ability, and I said no. I wanted to be the pilot, and I couldn't be because of my eyesight. But apparently, I could have been a weapons systems officer at that point. But I was married already. But if it was a pilot, I probably would have drug her with me. For some reason, I wanted to be a pilot. I ended up buying my own airplanes and was a pilot, but not in a jet, not in a to attack jet. Yeah, that would have been a rush. But they did go in and got that weapon systems officer. It's amazing. I've listened to a lot of commentary on it, and I've listened to a lot of people that are talking about this rescue. It was nothing just short of miraculous. I mean, it was on Easter Sunday that he got picked up after being a couple days out in the wilderness out there, and thank goodness for his training, because they do train for that. They do train on what to do if you're down and how to survive and all that. But he climbed 7,000 feet up into the ridges there, and hid in a crevice somehow, surrounded by people looking for him. The people looking for him were hostile people looking for him, but he was able to do that before he hit his emergency beacon, the beacon that alerts the United States where he is, and of course. Everyone was watching, from our side on where he was and how to get to him, and they set up. From what I understand, and we'll know more in time. They should make a movie out of this one, but they set up a base, a United States base in Iraq at that point, temporary. In fact, they flew a couple a couple C-130s in there and some other stuff, and we're using it as a base to get this guy out of there. Amazing amount of assets went into that. I don't know how many people haven't heard those, and we may never know. How much we do know the aircraft. Well, they eventually in the Iraqi army was close. was close, and we were able to get in there and get him out, put him on a small helicopter, little tiny helicopter, and get him out, get everybody out. Everybody got out. The equipment didn't get out. Yeah, it looks like they left a couple C-130s. They landed out there, and they couldn't take off. Yeah, they couldn't take off in the sand. I guess I don't know if they misjudged it or they just said, "Well, if we lose it, we lose it." I have no idea. But they blew them up. Yeah, they became shrapnel. The aircraft. I don't remember if there was a A-10 involved in that too. There might have been maybe 3 aircraft that were blown up out there. Forgive me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, call me 928-941-0304. Phone lines are open, and I'll do better. I'll keep mentioning that they are open, but they got him out. He is injured. He broke his foot, I guess, on the early on in landing, probably. When the chute opened and comes down, they're sitting in their seats. The seats and everything come up, but somehow he had an injury to his ankle. Was still able to climb 7,000 feet. I know people in Yuma that can't climb 7,000 feet without an injured ankle, and that's quite a lot. If you go up Telegraph Pass, that's like 1,200, 1,300 feet to go up Telegraph Pass, which a lot of people do for exercise, but it's grueling, and a lot of people can't make it. I didn't make it on my first time, and now it's just I haven't done it in a while, but it would be a challenge. I'm not going to go up fast, that's for sure. But we got this guy out somehow, which just shows that this U.S. military is just amazing. And it's amazing that Trump has taken the gloves off and that Trump has allowed them to do what they do. Now, after seeing so many times that the United States has gone in to do the right thing, and like in Vietnam, 19 years, and I talked to so many people that were so frustrated because they weren't fighting to win. It was some political battle, about asking permission to shoot, not attacking certain bases, even though they were attacking us. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Big loss of life, big loss of fortune, big loss of equipment. And Trump wants something for the energy. Trump is handing the militaries the keys and say, conquer, do it, take it. It's just an amazing thing to watch. I was reading this morning, a former commander that retired and said if he was doing the plans, the training, and the planning for this thing, and they told him it had to be done in 30 days plus, he would have said there was no way he would even have agreed to it or said that would even be possible. My, how things have changed. And I don't know if they knew it was possible or not, but they had priorities. They were hitting them, regardless of what the mainstream news tells you, saying there's no plan. They've stated their plan over and over again, to the point it frustrates people like Rubio. Rubio's been amazing in his communications. It frustrates him when they say you have no plan, and he starts spelling it out again. To get air superiority, air supremacy, to wipe out the Navy. All of that was well planned, and they went at it. I mean, just amazing amount of strikes and what they're doing. But it's not over. It's not over. And I know Trump has been very positive about how fast they've done, what they've accomplished, and what they've been able to get done. He's been very positive, making hints that it's about over, but it's not. It's not. And I heard MSNBC or MS Now, that was, and I can't remember which commentator it was, that said, look, Iran's plan is just to survive. And if the U.S. pulls out and they survive, it's a win for them. And she was just smirking. It's a win for, they want Trump to lose at all cost, no matter what. The biggest problem right now is the Hormuz Strait of Hormuz. That's what the biggest issue with the world economy, our economy, inflation, gas prices, you name it, the Strait of Hormuz. And that's why this hasn't been done before, I would imagine. For 47 years, these guys have been at war with us. They've been killing Americans for 47 years and others, and they're on a mission, death and destruction. The whole country. They've been supplying other people with the same thing, with the Houthis, the Hezbollah. They want like the end of days or something. These guys are crazy. When Trump is frustrated at this point, and I've been watching. Of course, we all have been. I think just watching how things have changed over time, and Trump on his public announcements, the stuff that goes on his website. It's gotten more and more aggressive. In fact, this weekend, I think he kind of melted down the left a little bit with his aggressiveness on some of the things that he said. That let me read it to you. And this is the most recent. Tuesday will be a power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one, in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the blanking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise to Allah. Praise be to Allah. And that was on Easter Sunday that he did that, and mocking them, I guess, aggressively. And I guess the left went on how unpresidential, and he's out of his right mind. It's time for the 25th Amendment, which is to vote the Trump out of office, get him out of office, and to say that he's not in a good state of mind or something. I think he is. I think he's obviously frustrated. He's obviously is amazed that they haven't acquiesced at this point, haven't agreed to be peaceful, haven't agreed to say, let's just do business together. Let's open up the strait, get rich. He's been offering it. I saw there's an Iranian commentator that does a daily blog. He's got friends, relatives, still family living in Iran. So he speaks from a knowledge bank that we probably don't have. He was talking about some of that. It was him and others were talking about the average Iranian people, which we would think, and I would think, and we don't have any knowledge because it's kind of a closed society. The internet's limited. We don't know much about them. Kind of like North Korea. We know less about North Korea than Iran, but we don't know much. So I assume everybody in that country is about the same. They grow up, go to school, scream death to America like we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Apparently 70+% of the people don't like the current regime, don't like the things that Iran's doing, which is an amazing number if that's true. I don't know how they judge it. I don't know how they do that. Because to do those kind of polls would get you killed, I would assume from what we read. That's not good. I don't know, but somehow somebody's come up with those numbers. Don't know if they're true. I don't know. But it makes me think that maybe things aren't all lost. And when I listened to Trump about taking a power plant out, major power plants, which would shut down some of those cities. And I'm assuming he's looking at the one in Toronto. If he did that, it would shut down the city. Could you imagine if you took the power plant out of San Francisco and they had no power, zero power? You turn on the light switch, nothing happens. You flush the toilet, nothing happens. You turn on the water spigot, nothing happens. You have no fuel for the car. You have no food delivery. He could turn Tehran into that. Now, some are saying that he would go right to The Hague. Of course, there are international laws about attacking civilians. Our enemies in Iran pay no attention to that. They attack civilians on a daily basis. It's what they do. They'll publicly cut people's heads off, throw them off buildings. But they point out real quick that Trump can't do this because it would be against The Hague and against international law to do something that would harm civilians. When you're in a war like this, there's got to be some harming of civilians. It's not going to be avoided. It's not like World War II where it was mass amounts of civilians. When they did bombing runs in World War II, they lost civilians like crazy. it just was, but we didn't have the accurate weapons. I mean, it's a lot better now. Well, when they strike something, they strike military targets. They stay within the military targets confines for the most part. Might be some civilians close by or something, but by and large, this is all directed strictly at military. So the fact that he takes out a bridge now, some of these bridges he's taken out one of the major bridges in near Tehran that was feeding a lot of military equipment. The bridge just opened like within the last year. It just opened up. It's a major bridge. And he says he's going to take out more because that shuts down a lot of military progress, being able to ship in military. But at the same time, you can't ship in food. And is it a direct attack on civilians? No, but there's going to be people on the left that want to take him for war crimes and go in. I have no idea. I don't think it is, but it's not what we do. We've seen Iran attacking hotels and everything as routine business, and all from the start. Russia does the same thing. They go by a different set of rules. I don't know if Trump's going to do it, but he says he does, and he talks about. And when he talks like that, he doesn't bluff. I mean, he'll say a lot of things he doesn't want to do in order to get negotiations in order. And I think he's frustrated that they haven't negotiated yet because we obviously have such a commanding hold on the entire country. You can't fly over it. You can't bring in aircraft. Most of the shipping is contained. Getting parts and things into the country and all that, it's surrounded by aircraft carriers. It's surrounded by the military, and it's going to be hard to move around. And we can fly at will over the country, although an F-15 was shot down. There's no question. Maybe that takes it from air supremacy down to air superiority. I don't know. We'll have to ask the military how they reclassify that. I don't think they know exactly what it was that shot it down. It may have been, a handheld device versus artillery systems. It could have been an artillery system. I haven't heard one way or the other, but something got there. Again, in a country the size that's 2.5 times the size of California, Texas, 2.5 times the size of Texas. It's kind of hard to get every square inch of it, but they've done tremendous things. And the planes flying over are always looking to detect new threats. They fly over a lot of aircraft made just for that, designed for that. A lot of F-15s are doing that. They're not all loaded with bombs. A lot of them are loaded with sensitive equipment to detect things and to be able to take them out. Well, on Sunday, Trump told a chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst, he believes he'll be able to make a deal with Iran by tomorrow. That's today. He thinks he can make a deal today. Now, he's very optimistic, and he has been, but I think the frustration's setting in. I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They are negotiating now. If Iran fails to make a deal, you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. If they don't make a deal fast, I'm considering blowing up and taking over the oil. He doesn't mention that he's got control Strait of Hormuz, but and it's obvious that he's been putting things in place. I don't think the one ship with the landing craft, the hovercraft type stuff, that's there yet. That's the Boxer. That's a Navy ship, Marine ship that has three landing vehicles on it that can go right up on the shore and they say not trigger the mines that are in the water. If a boat tries to go through, it's going to detect the boat, but it won't detect. It's not geared to, or they say it's not geared to detect these. But that's a big deal, and they'll be ready wherever he lands. And I don't know which island. There's islands out there. Some, the one that has a heart. Is it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. The one that has the oil on it. That's got residents. That's got civilian population that live there. But even if he takes it over, you're not going to get through the straits. I mean, the straits have got to be opened. The Strait of Hormuz has got to be open. And if he's going to take Iran oil, where are you going to take it? You can't take it out of the country if you're not taking it through the straits. Can they open them? I would think that they can, but it's probably going to be more risky than they want to take, I would think, or they would have already done it, or maybe they don't have the equipment in place. But you've got the airborne there, you got tons of Marines there, you got landing craft on their way that probably should be there this week, if not now. I don't know exactly where it is, but he says he's got time is running out, and he's moved the time around a few times. Some of it, he says at their request as they're continuing to talk, whoever he's talking to. But Iran's interference in the Strait has significantly impaired the movement of oil tankers along the waterway, causing global oil prices. There's countries that have shut down a lot of air travel, that are reducing air travel, that are having people not go to work right now. I mean, their supplies are very dependent on that strait being open, and their backup at home is not much, months, and they're already running out of oil. So, and that's what the Iranians want. They're making such a deal that against the world, they're punishing the entire world. They want to put pressure on the United States to say, just knock it off and let us go about business as usual. We can't. We're not as powerful as we were. Well, what damage could we do? And of course, what they would do is they'd start rebuilding. They seem to be in it for the long haul to destroy. See, on Friday, and this was a few days ago, Friday, he said he gave Iran till Tuesday. He said on Friday, with a little more time, we can easily open the Hormuz Strait, take the oil, make a fortune. It would be a gusher for the world. I don't know if he's serious or not, but again, when do you know him to bluff? The biggest bridge in Iran comes tumbling down, never to be used again, much more to follow. And that was he wrote on True Social after he took that big bridge down. It's time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late. And he keeps writing it out there. And of course, Iran keeps answering him that they're okay, that they're fine. A Marine combat veteran, R.P. Newman, says we will continue to see very aggressive attrition of offense and defensive targets as well as infrastructure targets. Some critics doubt that Trump has a clear exit strategy. Well, I expect that. The critics of Trump are going to say that regardless of anything. And it's Carg Island I was trying to think of a little bit ago. That's the one that's shipping the oil, but that's not the one in the Straits. The Straits are south of that, and that small passageway, it's 21 miles at its widest point, but out of that 21 miles, the shipping lane is like 6 miles. They travel down. That's international waters. Iran doesn't own it. That's recognized international waters. It doesn't belong to any country. But if they're going to bomb you if you go through, they don't have to own it. They can control it just through intimidation, and that's the way it's been. They've been controlling it through intimidation. We'll see where it goes. It's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen today or tomorrow. At one point or another. President Trump has endorsed a California gubernatorial candidate. I'm surprised. If you've been following California, they have a strange primary. Everybody votes for everybody, or there's no separation of Democrats and Republicans. It's a free-for-all. They take the top 2 vote getters out of the primary, regardless of party. It's not one party against another in California. And what's been happening in recent polls is the 2 top polling are Republicans. So unusual for California. A couple reasons for it. I'm sure there's a lot of people in California that are fed up with the leadership that they want to see a change. I'm sure that's some of it. But some of it is that there's a ton of Democrats running. It's really thinning them out. There's only 2 Republicans running, and both of those Republicans were top in the poll. So Donald Trump comes out and endorses Steve Hilton. Great guy, from all I understand. I don't know a lot about him, but I understand he's a great guy. Well, doesn't that change the way that people are going to vote? Won't more people go for Steve Hilton now and less for the other? And possibly when you get the top 2 vote getters in California, all of a sudden it might be a Democrat and a Republican, not 2 Republicans. 2 Republicans would have been fun. It would have been hilarious. But I don't I don't know what's going to happen now. In May. Here's what President Trump put on Truth Social. He says, I've known and respected Steve Hilton, who was running for governor of California for many years. He is truly a fine man, one who has watched as this once great state has gone to hell. Gavin Newsom, and he wrote Newsom. I'm not changing his words. Gavin Newsom and the Democrats have done an absolute horrendous job. People are fleeing, crime is increasing, and taxes are the highest of any state in the country, maybe the world. Steve can turn it around before it's too late. And as president, I will help him do so. With federal help and a great governor like Steve Hilton, California can be better than ever before. Steve Hilton has my complete and total endorsement. He will be a great governor, and importantly, he will never let you down. That's what he put in his post, which is going to change things because Chad Bianco is the other Republican. He's a Riverside County sheriff. They were both coming in 1 and 2. Now, this may swing all the Republicans to Steve Hilton and change the outcome of the primary. Hilton will win, and so will someone else. And there's a lot of Democrats running. Human Services Secretary, former under Barack Obama, Xavier Becerra, is running. Representative Eric Swalwell, and he's got some real problems. A lot of things have surfaced lately to put him in a bad light. Some but potential crimes that he committed 10 years ago. It's starting to surface. So possibly he's going to have a problem. See, I'm texting at the same time. Yeah, my office for the 9-day job is already sending me notes. Yeah, I guess they're working at 6 o'clock, but it's going to change it, possibly. Rob Pryor's of California Target book, he put on X, his Trump kills any GOP hopes of an R versus R runoff in California governor race. Trump's endorsement of Steve Hilton could likely freeze up tens of millions of dollars for Democratic groups who would have otherwise had to spend heavily to elevate one of the 2 leading gubernatorial candidates to avoid Democratic lockout. That's what Rob Pryors wrote. He may not be wrong. I'm going to lean to Trump and saying he knows what he's doing. And maybe he thinks by his endorsement, the primary doesn't matter. Maybe he thinks that his endorsement is going to carry him through California. He won California, didn't he? And he didn't win California, did he? I don't think he won California. The popular vote, maybe. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look. But I know it was something dramatic in California. It was a big turnaround on that. Maybe he thinks he can push that the people of California who have been burned out, can't rebuild, high inflation, high crime, poop on the sidewalks, DAs that legitimize theft and say that, you can be a shoplifter and not get prosecuted. Maybe they're tired of it. Maybe they're ready for a change. Maybe they're ready for a Donald Trump endorsement. And something that he puts in there, and don't miss this, and I don't know the ethics of it, or I don't know the legality of it, but we know it happens. When you have a president in there that's a Democrat, and these Democratic states spend money that's stupid, the president finds ways to throw them aid. The president finds ways to throw tax dollars at them. That's why they can be stupid, spend beyond budgets, and expect federal help. Well, Trump has put in there that he's going to be behind. He said, Steve can turn it around before it's too late. And as president, I will help him do so. With federal help and a great governor like Steve Hilton, California would be better than ever before. He's laying it out there. He's willing to work for California. He's willing to go work for California. I think he likes California. Remember during the fires and the Palisade fires, Trump went there to help. He had meetings with the mayor and with others and said, let's get this rolling. And he asked for them to do some things. Get built. Let me help get some building permits. And they never did. They said they would. They never did. Yeah, that fire they haven't been rebuilding at all. And in fact, my understanding is, or some of those property owners have put some of those containers, those containers on their property, I guess, to hold some of the stuff they own because they don't have a house to put it in, maybe to put some materials there so they can get ready to start building. They asked them all to remove them. They're not legal to have them on the property. They're not able to give them any exemptions or anything because there's no house because it's burned down. Because nobody lives there. They're not going to give them an exemption. They're going to tell them they have to move it. I'm so thankful I don't live in California. It's miserable. I hope everyone had a very good Easter Sunday. And I'll just mention that I did. I went to Church for the City. They had the big show at the Civic Center. They rented the Civic Center out. And I think it was 1,800 people they could get in there at a time. They had to do 2 services at 9 and 11. I went to the 11 because I knew the 9 would be so packed it's standing room only or overflow rooms. It was the same at 11. I went to 11. It was the same. It was overflow rooms. It was people standing in the back of the room. And the ushers did everything. They made sure every seat was filled. They asked everyone to slide over. But a wonderful, wonderful service by Pastor Tyrone, and just a great service and a great thanks for Easter. So it worked out really well. I hope you all had a wonderful time. I saw a lot of picnics out there too at the convention center, and a lot of people were out with family and stuff, which is really good. Let me see. There's since I was talking about religion a little bit, I want to talk about Warnock. He's a pastor and a senator, Democratic senator. And he's the senior pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, where obviously he's the senator of Georgia. And he was on CNN and was interviewed by CNN. And Jake Tapper is not, I don't get him. I mean, I think he's got Trump derangements in him as bad as anybody. He tries to act like he doesn't, but I think so. He asked the senator, he said, there are a lot of religious leaders who go to the White House and not only pray for the president, but make a show of suggesting that he was chosen by God for this mission. Well, the good pastor from Atlanta, Warnock, says, yeah, they're wrong. And there were Christians who thought that slavery was, somehow godlike, American chattel slavery. And they justified it. And they used scripture to support their position. He's not wrong about that. I mean, that was absolutely true. The slave owners did use Christianity to placate the slaves, let them know they had a better life. They just did what they were told. That is a fact. But to make that comparison is kind of horrible. He said, it just so happens that I'm the product of a countervailing tradition that was literally born fighting for freedom, that understood that God didn't create us to be slave. That's why the black church was emerged. Maybe. I mean, that's his viewpoint. Let me take a phone call. Mr. Carl, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Happy Monday, sir.
Happy Monday to you, buddy. You're still awake. I figured you'd be sleeping for the next 3 days after that week at the fair.
You know what? it takes a lot of energy to do it,
Yeah.
but I call it happy energy. So
Well,
there's no
good.
way in hell anybody could pay me to do what we had to do. So
Yeah.
so I, so we do it for fun.
It is fun. I didn't go at all this year. I couldn't make it. I mean, just I got to slow down a little bit for the next few months, and I've been. I know if I go to the fair, I'm going to stay, so I just didn't go. In fact, I was looking for tickets to buy ride tickets to take the grandkids, and the people around me looked at me like I lost my mind, and reminded
Yeah,
me.
well,
So, and they were right. So I didn't buy the tickets. I didn't. I didn't take the
well,
grandkids.
well, Sunday morning, the fair, all the rides were free.
Really?
So, yes, we're totally. And the place, I was really amazed. The place filled up all day Sunday. The fair was busy.
Wow. It's not new. It's
But
not normally that busy on a Sunday. But yeah, that's great.
no, no, well, they're just a good businessman at work. But what do we do? Well, we get the rides away for free for 2 hours, and we got the people are already there. They'll go stay.
Wow.
But I tell you how much centrifugal force some of those rides have. Me and Cindy, and it's going to be free. Cindy and I are going to go for a ride.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh yeah,
All
and
right.
on one of those rides, there was so much centrifugal force that it popped my hearing aid, my the pieces on my hearing aid off my ears. So it was either lose my hearing aids or lose my grip.
Yeah,
Well,
you got to lose your grip, man. You're
I,
not going anywhere. You're going to be up against the wall.
that's it. Well, this was upside down, sir.
Wow. Wow.
but but anyway, so the things are built well enough. You're not going to fly out. So I hung on to my hearing aids.
Yeah. Did you save them? You got them?
You darn right I do.
Thank you. That's good.
If I'd have lost my hearing aids, I'd have went off board with them.
Yep, that's
But
important.
anyway, I think the fair, in my opinion, was very successful.
Good.
The the people that we talked to, they're tired of the BS. And I even went to the Democrat booth. Well, I had my train outfit on anyway, so they knew who I was. And I asked the man back there, I says, did you ever play Monopoly? He said, sure. And I said, should the banker cheat? He said, well, heck no, he shouldn't cheat. And I said, well, that's all President Trump's trying to do is make sure the banker doesn't cheat. And that was it.
Did they
I had to leave.
did they ask you to leave?
No,
I said,
he brought up, you know what his response was?
What?
Well, look what Trump did on what was it, January 6th? And I thought, well,
wow.
that was nothing but a good Trump rally, and a couple people did something real stupid.
But all that was to get you to change the subject, my friend. That's all.
Yeah.
They just don't want to
Oh,
talk
I
about it. That's a change the
Oh
subject.
no.
Because they know that J6 was not a riot or anything. Trump didn't say anything other than march peacefully. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, I know.
And look at that. Look at how people give him a hard time on it. It's just a really amazing. I'll give an example. What the man is actually doing in this Iraq. That's totally awesome. When you are playing a game of chess, he's making some beautiful moves.
It is kind of scary, though. I mean,
Well,
you got to
yeah.
pray for those guys.
Well, yeah, I know. I spent some time in Vietnam, so I know what they're going through.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the United States, our commander in chief stepped up and he said, "You go get them boys," and they did.
They did. And it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't think that's ever been done before, where they get the pilot and then like 2 days later get the weapon systems officer and get both of them alive and both of them out of there. That's amazing. It just makes you wonder, what is the capability of our armed services? And Trump has turned them loose. Trump is not handcuffing them. He just says, get them.
Well, don't they call that the War Department?
Yes, they do now.
Yes, they do.
It's,
And who
although
they
not
put
all
in
the
charge?
Democrats, they still call it the Defense Department, because the name wasn't officially changed. I don't think.
Well,
It's changed as far as Trump's concerned.
well, I think most United States citizens think the same thing too.
Yeah,
Maybe all of the Somalians are living off our dime. Maybe they don't think so.
yeah,
Isn't that amazing how the United States really goes? Some of the people, we want to spend our money to make sure it's America first, and some of the people want to take and spend our money to see if they can corrupt our government.
right.
So, am I right or wrong
Oh,
on
you're
that? But that's what I look
absolutely,
at.
yeah, you're absolutely right. There's, I think Trump is honestly in power. Trump wants to make the world better. He wants to make United States first, of course. Of course, making us first will
Well,
make the
yeah,
world better, but he wants the United States to be better. He wants people to be more profitable. He wants to take care of it. And I think so many politicians go up there just want more power. So they throw you trinkets to get more power. Say, I'm gonna give you welfare, I'm gonna give you food stamps or something. But that's not really opportunity. That's actually
yeah.
continuation of your dependence on the government. And they want you to be
Well, that's right.
dependent because that way they're job guaranteed.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk their way out of a job. Where Trump would like to
Well,
close a lot of these offices, get people back on, where they can take care of themselves and close down. Well, we have too many people on food stamp. We have too many people on public assistance. And to the Democrats, we don't have enough because they want to have more constituents and they need constituents that are dependent.
yeah, and the ones that are there, if they are legal citizens, I don't really have a big problem with it. The ones we are paying for is the ones that don't even live in the United States. They are not citizens.
Yeah.
They go to school. They come from Mexico and go to our schools, and our government allows them to do that.
It's actually illegal to
What is
spend.
wrong with that?
It's not legal to spend federal dollars on illegals like on food stamps and all that stuff. The states have been doing it because the states are responsible for doing the actual paperwork and doing it, and they've been lying,
Yes.
and that's where this fraud's coming in. Is like all those daycares in Minnesota. That's government subsidies that help keep those open and pay those billions of dollars that get stolen because there's no kids. And the states are doing it. The states are cheating and lying in order to get more federal funds. And it's got to be put to a stop. And that's what J.D. Vance is doing right now. He's a fraud czar. Did you know that? I'll get to that in a little bit. Trump named him the fraud czar. He's going after him. And we need somebody to. I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars that's going to fraud.
How many Leering centers do we have in Yuma County?
Well, I was thinking about opening one, but short of that, I don't think there's.
You know what?
Yeah.
We're just too damn honest. We really couldn't do that. See what happens when you want to be honest, Russ?
Yeah, no, I know.
But you know what? By being honest, when you walk down the street, you don't have to hide your face.
There you go.
That's what makes sense to me.
But Carl, the second you start trying to lead and trying to talk to people and help people possess power, that are right, like we do in the politics and supporting those politicians that we think are going to really help and not just bleed our country dry, you're going to get enemies and you're going to get people that hate you for that. I mean, it's an evil place out there.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And where I seen that the most, just walking just at the Democratic booth, I seen that yesterday. Just because I asked him a simple question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
anyway,
it's a public place. They really can't throw you out.
No. Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But the fair was awesome this year. As far as I was concerned, it was way too expensive.
It's always expensive. It's always been expensive,
Yeah, it's
part of it.
But the people are really awesome. If just being able to talk the variety of the different people in Yuma, it's really pretty awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of really nice people out there. and
Well,
it's a lot of fun to talk to them.
I really enjoy the animals and the kids that do that, raise everything from chickens to cows, and learning great skills, get great support, and a lot of people go there and they buy these animals at probably 10 times their actual price just to
Yeah.
help these kids out and show support. It's a wonderful
Yeah.
deal. It's great to see.
Well, you're talking about support. Billy Britton, he has
Mhm.
that trolley.
Yeah.
You know, he's been done things at the fair for a long time,
Oh,
and he's a resident.
our
And
farming
now
community's big time into that. Yeah,
yeah,
they are.
now he lets us use his trolley to go and put it at the fair.
Yeah.
So he's still helping us out. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
anyway,
It's a great deal. I appreciate the call, my friend.
bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. As Mr. Carl from the fair. Let me finish up with this Warnock, Senator Warnock, talking about black churches. That the black church began by correcting the American heresy that somehow tried to reconcile the faith of Jesus to slavery. And they make it sound like it was all of America. Well, it wasn't. It did happen under our noses, Americans, and Americans at the time fought it like crazy. Republican Party started for that reason. That was the reason for the Republican Party. They wanted to stop, slavery. They wanted to contain it. And the initial program was to contain it, to stop it from spreading into the new territories and limit it, and until they could figure out what to do with it. That's where Lincoln was voted first Republican president, and the left and the slave states were so angry they seceded. They attacked us. They attacked the government. And we know the rest. There was a revolution, a civil war and lots of deaths. Just horrible time, all to end slavery in this country. And yeah, we can talk about it being about states' rights, and it was about states' rights. The states' rights to protect slavery is what it was all about. President Lincoln spoke eloquently on that during his second inauguration address about the Civil War. Just before his assassination. So Warnock goes on, says the president, meaning Trump, needed to be held accountable for his bigotry and cruelty that he is unleashing on American streets through his version of ICE. So Warnock is against police officers, against policing illegal aliens, even though there's laws. It's on the books. It's illegal. And we've got ICE officers that arrest you just for that. He says, I have to be honest with what he's doing. And he hasn't done as much as Barack Obama. But I didn't hear Warnock back then saying anything, that ICE was out of control. Barack Obama had many more deportations than Trump. And he had cooperation. We didn't have this anti-ICE movement. We didn't have the disruptors out there under Barack Obama. We had it under Trump. This is so political. It's just so ridiculous. It's about, they care more about the power than they care about the public. It's unacceptable. And here we have a pastor at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta doing this kind of rhetoric, which I find totally grotesque. He's kind of an unabashed, unvarnished bigotry. The cruelty that he's unleashing on American streets through his version of ICE, those things have to be condemned. And so for me, prayer and prophetic speech, which holds power accountable, those two things go hand in hand. I am not about to be the chaplain blessing that which is ungodly and unjust. Yeah, he's the perfect guest for Tapper. How can he speak like that? Is amazing to me. Tapper says, I'm sure you encountered quite a bit African-American members of your church, Baptists, who are more socially conservative than you, who say, I'm with you on the hunger, I'm with you on the kindness, but Lincoln Riley was murdered by an undocumented immigrant, and I see nothing compassionate about having him in this country. Good for Tapper. That's Actually, a great question. Or they talk about abortion or other things that may not be in line with your politics. Because, and I'm glad he mentioned that, but in the Baptist church in Atlanta, abortion's okay. Tapper says, how do you confront that? Oh, we're Baptists. We could all use a little bit more grace these days. Grace for people who don't share our viewpoint. That was his whole answer. Grace. And there's a Baptist minister in Atlanta, pro-abortion, and striking out against enforcing the law when he wasn't under Barack Obama. I mean, he's a true political animal. I find it unacceptable. I'd have to ask, Pastor Tyrone what he thinks about all that. I'd be curious. I think I know his answer. His answer is going to be one of consistency and about faith and right and wrong, and it's going to be right and wrong no matter who the president is, no matter which party is in power. It doesn't matter. But it does to Warnock, and that's doesn't set right with me. The Trump administration is urging restoring the ballroom construction. I don't know if you remember that, but last week, the ballroom was halted. Yeah. There's a Richard Leon. He's a U.S. district judge there in D.C. Now, D.C. has notoriously a ton of activist judges. Richard Leon sounds familiar. Perhaps he's one of them. I really haven't looked, but I would assume he's one of the activist judges that halted the project and that it can't proceed without congressional approval, which is absolutely ridiculous. As old as the White House is, and as much as it's been changed and gutted and rebuilt, it's never had congressional approval. It's been at the presidents that have done that. In fact, Trump's assistant attorney general, Brett Shumate, says the judge was given an opportunity to see the construction taking place at the site, but surprisingly, he never responded to our invitation. For decades, Congress has vested the president with overlapping statutory authority that allows the president to make improvements he deems necessary to the White House grounds and structures. Yet a district judge ordered the president to halt ongoing reconstruction of the East Wing of the White House by April 14th, leaving a massive excavation and structurally completed site adjacent to the now open and exposed executive mansion, and threatening grave national security harms to the White House, the president and his family, and most of staff. Almost $400 million of private donations and contributions, no taxpayer dollars are being used to build the long-sought and desperately needed ballroom, have already been committed or spent in the purchase of heavy, large-scale, and other types of building materials. The path to this injunction confirms its unfairness, untenability, and danger to the White House and the people working and living within its walls. It's amazing that this one judge can put a stop to it. The initial lawsuit against the construction was brought by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, a nonprofit, of course, alleging that Trump exceeded his authority when he raised the historic East Wing and launched construction of the new building. Of course, what they want to do is stop the building, fill the hole back in, and build the East Wing back exactly like it was, at a cost to taxpayers for probably much more money than what the ballroom's going to cost. This motion that Shumate put in claims the illegal, baseless, and no trust member has standing. The president has complete authority to renovate the White House, according to Shumate. The East Wing was originally built in 1902. I think they tore down a greenhouse or something to get to use the property. There was no National Trust for Historic Preservation at that time, but you wouldn't have been able to tear that down. But they did. They tore it down and built the East Wing, and expanded 4 decades later. So 4 decades later, they gutted it and redid it, and I think they added a second story to it and a bunch of stuff. and it's office buildings, more or less. The ballroom is part of Trump's broader push to reshape Washington's monumental core, which also includes a 250-foot arc and changes the Trump Kennedy Center. Trump wrote, "I would like to thank the hardworking commissioners and staff of the National Capital Planning Commission who just voted overwhelmingly 8-1 to approve the magnificent White House ballroom now rising on this hallowed ground." He said that Thursday night on Truth Social. "I am pleased to announce that even board members, Senator Rand Paul, known as an extraordinarily difficult vote, voted a strong yes. For more than 150 years, every president has dreamt about having a ballroom at the White House to accommodate people for grand parties, state visits, and even in the modern day inaugurations. I am honored to be the first president to finally get this much needed project, which is on time and under budget, underway. When completed, it will be the greatest and most beautiful ballroom of its kind anywhere in the world, and a fabulous complement to our beautiful and storied White House." And then he lamented about the rebuking the rogue judges. He said, "In the ballroom case, the judge said, we have to get congressional approval. He is wrong. Congressional approval has never been given on anything in these circumstances, big or small, having to do with construction at the White House. It's the first time. Kind of a new deal. It's 2026. We need congressional approval." Just kind of amazing. Everything that adversaries politically can do with lawfare or stopping him from doing anything like even building a ballroom, and he's not even using taxpayers. He's doing all this through donations. The White House and Richard Leon, he said after he halted, he says, "I'm granting this shocking, unprecedented, improper injunction, one that could have been sought long ago prior to the start of construction." He even admits it. It could have been done before they even put a shovel in the ground. "And that there were full knowledge through large-scale media attention and publicity that the White House ballroom was planned to be built, and that there would have been a great deal of time for them to object long before the start of construction, even though their objection would likewise have been baseless and frivolous." Well, I guess that's coming from the White House Attorney General. "The district took the erroneous sweeping view that Congress did not authorize the ballroom construction at the White House, yet correctly allows construction necessary to ensure the safety and security of the White House and its grounds, including the ballroom construction site, and provide for the personal safety of the president and his staff." Which is weird. Now, they're supposed to stop on the 14th construction. After this ruling, I think it was after this ruling, is when the news came out on what's really going on. We didn't know the whole story. We know that there's a ballroom being built. We were told that from the beginning. That was the whole thing that was relayed to us, was the ballroom. What they didn't tell us is that the military is building the basement of the ballroom. Yeah, it's got fallout shelters. It's military stuff that they're not telling us. To protect the White House, to protect the president. And keep in mind, the ballroom is going to be bulletproof, bomb-proof, or I guess bomb-resistant. I don't know if you can make it bomb-proof. I think the U.S. possesses stuff that would bomb it, I imagine. But these the windows, I think, did I read that it was 4 inches? That seems awfully big. 4 inches deep, thick. But they should be able to sustain bombs, should be able to stand machine guns and all that kind of stuff. And then the military, and I don't know if it's part of the construction cost that was donated by the people, if that was just the ballroom, or if what's going on underneath was too. I would imagine, I'm guessing this, that the military's building it underneath, and that basement area and the foundation of it is what the ballroom's going to be built upon is probably going to be the all military stuff. According to the president, that's going to be fallout shelters and safety and security for people that come, because you've got to potentially get 600 people in that ballroom, including world leaders all at once, dignitaries, world leaders all at once in that area, and so they're going to make it defendable. We'll see where it goes. I don't think that the office buildings in the East Wing are going to come back. Uh, they say it was historic. It was built in 1902, and then it was redone. It was basically tore down and redone and expanded by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So it's not it was office buildings. Not a lot of excitement there. Not like what's going on in space. But let me take. It's 7 o'clock already. Let me take a quick break, and I will be back because we've got a lot to cover. Let me see if I can get the. We'll be right back. I'm back with you. I just took a walk around the building here. There's nobody here. Happy Easter Monday. I didn't even know that was a deal, but I read it on my calendar. It said Easter Monday. I guess it's a day people take off, the day after Easter. I think isn't the Easter celebration at the White House today. You know, where I think George Braun's could be dressed as a bunny or something, possibly. I think that's the case. We'll get George Braun dressed up. Hey, he's our Washington correspondent there, bureau chief. Let me see. A listener put this morning, said the U.S. will start seeing the effects of the oil disruption in a couple of months. I think we've already seen it. Gas is like $4.20, $4.30 in Yuma. It's up over $1 already. And of course, we have oil. We're not going to have lines. It's just that the price of oil goes up. It goes up everywhere, including here, even if we have it. It's price of gas. I mean, the price of oil goes up. It goes up. It's not like the gas prices will take effect almost immediately. They almost. I mean, it wasn't long. They did start going up. America's number one concern is price. I agree. That will almost guarantee the loss of the Senate plus the House, which is already lost. I don't agree. I don't think it's already lost. It doesn't look good, but I don't think it's lost. I think that's part of Trump's frustration with Iran. He wanted to blow through this thing and get out. And I think Iran knows that, and they just want to hold out, even if there's not much left. They just want to hold out. But Trump has to take that Strait of Hormuz away from him. And I know he's trying to get allies in there to help out. Britain, France, Spain, Italy. Not only are they not helping out, they forbid the United States, well, not Britain, but at least Spain, France, and Italy that I know about. They forbid the United States use the air bases that they pay for in those countries. You know, we have air bases there to protect them and help us, be all over the world instantly because we have air bases. Maybe we should start closing a few of them. I don't know if we need them anymore. It's not 1940. We have rapid response capabilities and amazing aircraft carriers that take us all over the world all the time. I don't know if we need a base, but I'm not a military guy. You can call me, tell me. 928-941-0304. Plus, I know a lot of military guys like to be stationed all over the world. They enjoy their time stationed in Germany and Italy, Spain, and all that. It's always an enjoyment. My son is just now coming back. He's in Sicily right now, and he's been in United Arab Emirates. He's been stationed in Japan. He's been stationed in Great Britain. He's had a great time overseas. He set up two Osprey squadrons. They decided to build an Osprey squadron in United Kingdom, which he did, or helped with, obviously, and then in Japan, and then became commander of that squadron. And now he's in Sicily doing something else, I think with drones. And now he's going to be coming to Tucson. Yeah, he's moving back. I don't even know if he's happy about it. I think he likes being overseas. But we'll be happy to see him regardless. That's okay. NASA's still up in space with Artemis 2 crew. They're going to be traveling and see it during the 7-hour lunar flyby. They're doing a flyby. They're not landing on the moon. They flew out beyond the moon farther than anyone ever has. So they're the astronauts that have been the furthest away from Earth. And it's going to flyby. And in fact, NASA had a 28-second mock-up of what they're going to be looking at Artemis. I did not watch it. I should have. The visualization is designed to show exactly what Artemis astronauts will see outside their window during the lunar flyby. Earth is going to not be visible to them for 40 minutes because, they're going to be on the other side of the moon, the dark side. They're going to be on the dark side. And no communications either. It's going to black out communications. So they'll be alone for 40 minutes. So now that the crew's on the way to the moon, which, they've already made the trip out and they're starting to slingshot back, we finally know exactly which parts of the lunar surface will be sunlit during their closest approach. And dozens of scientists are hard at work in the back rooms of Mission Control in Houston. I guess they're at work trying to discuss where do we want the cameras pointed, what do we want looked at, those kind of things. Where do we because they only have they don't have so long over the territory to make sure they use it the best. And I guess they had to wait until they were on their way back to know exactly what their trajectory is and where they're going to be, so that they can now they can plot over what part of the moon they're going to be going over and what they have the best opportunities for. And then they'll be splashing down on Thursday, just off the coast of San Diego. Yeah, going to go down the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. No, I'm not going to go out there. I'll be in here. We'll be talking about them. I'm not going to go out there. I talked a little bit about oil and the price of oil. It's already been affected. It's because of Iran, and we're not being affected as much as other countries, but still affected because when price goes up, it goes up for everybody. Well, the stocks had a positive week last week. Some of the things looked like they were going to start wrapping up or something, but now they're not sure. The Dow fell 158 points on the futures. and it's 0.34%. S&P 500, 0.23%. NASDAQ, 0.14, all losses. And USA oil futures are going up, though. That's not good, but they're going up. 111 and 96 cents a barrel. And Brent crude climbed 93% to 110 and 4 cents a barrel. Now, national average price of gasoline is $4.11 on Sunday, and it's up from $2.98. So it's up about $1.20 since this thing started. Since the war starts, up $1.20. That's significant. That's significant. It's the exact opposite of what we wanted. I mean, Trump was making great gains on the price of oil. It was going down. He was bragging about how much it's going down. This definitely threw a monkey wrench in it, hopefully for such a short period. And as soon as the Strait of Hormuz is open and that thing becomes secure and that the threat to oil tankers is diminished and is gone, then things will become back to normal. I don't know how fast that can happen. I would think it would have been done by now. And maybe it's part of Trump's negotiation that he's put it off, or maybe they're just waiting on more assets like the Boxer to get there. I have no idea. This is the 6th week of the conflict. It says it's reaching the end of Trump's earlier timeline for the war to last 4 to 6 weeks. So he said 4 to 6 weeks, and right now we're in our 6th week. So maybe his estimation is off. Maybe Iran would rather have obliteration than to come to any kind of deal. At least leadership, not the people. But Iran shows no signs of relinquishing its grip over the Strait of Hormuz, even as it allows a growing trickle of tankers through. They allowed more the other day, but not near the capacity, not near the daily average. They're not doing that. And my understanding, and I've been saying on the air, well, on the internet now, when the AM 560 signal's not open yet, but it will be. I mean, that we should be dropping guns to them like they did in World War II, like in France and stuff. They would drop guns to the resistance. Well, apparently we have been. We've been arming them. I don't know how much, but I heard that report the other day that there was some of that going on. And something weird happened too. The Iranian army, the Revolutionary Army, they've abandoned some checkpoints on their border. The border, and I know it's been on social media. It's been out there a little bit that the people have taken pictures of them or video. Like, where is everybody? Because you pull up to the border, it'd be like us pulling up to the border here in Mexico, and there's no customs officials. There's no border patrols. That's what they've got going on right now in Iran, and they didn't have a real answer for it other than maybe the people abandoned it because they thought that something imminent was going to happen and that they were going to start attacking at the borders or something. I don't know. I don't think they knew. It was all guesswork at that. They just did no reality that they did pull out. But they did pull out. See, in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and it's talking Trump, said that if Iran keeps the strait closed, it's going to lose every power plant, every other plant they have in the whole country. Now, the speaker for the Iranian parliament, Mohammed, said, your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family, and our whole region is going to burn because you insist on following Netanyahu's commands. Make no mistake, you won't gain anything through war crimes. The only real solution is respecting the rights of the Iranian people and ending the dangerous game. It's amazing coming from a country that, plotted the attack in Israel where they were killing women and babies and stuff, and that are attacking hotels and residential areas currently. And they talk about war crimes. But of course, they understand that means something to the United States. It doesn't mean anything to them. That's just business as usual. Meanwhile, more than 2,000 Marines are in the Middle East with thousands more troops on the way, as well as a third carrier. I think that's because the Ford got damaged. The Ford's in port somewhere nearby, and it's still active. I mean, it's still runways active. Trump could deploy them to seize a Carg Island. Of course, then it starts getting into speculation. We don't know. It's a possibility, correct? Or other small islands near the strait. I would imagine if I were to guess, the islands near the strait are the most influential as far as getting things back to normal. If the strait is open, whether Carg Island's taken or not, oil's going to flow through the straits, and that's what's critical to global trade, is to get that straits open. And it's more than Iran that has oil go through the straits. Saudi Arabia goes through the straits. United Arab Emirates goes through the straits. So a lot of oil goes through the straits. It did mention in this article I'm looking at, where it's talking about oil climbing and stocks are dropping, which are true. That it talks about the F-15 airman that was captured. Or we got him back. I mean, we got him. He wasn't captured by the Iranians. We got him back. They mentioned that, and they said it's unclear if that successful rescue will encourage a future ground assault. I don't think it would have anything to do with it, would it? Would it? Again, I'm not military. You can call me. Make sure my phone is on, which it is, which is 928-941-0304. If you up on this Easter Monday, it looks like a lot of places are going to be closed today, I guess. The Mortgage One is closed. I'm the only one in the building. It's usually teeming with people by now. Yeah, so they start early. He says, on one hand, the cost from this episode, and it says 4 as many as 7 aircraft. Well, they must be counting the A-10 that was shot down, where the pilot ejected over the water and was rescued right away, as well as the F-15 that was shot down, and the 2 C-130s that we destroyed ourselves. And it says as many as 7, because there's suggestion there was more there, like maybe a couple helicopters even, that we left behind intentionally. The risks of such operations are simply too great to contemplate, and they are that. It's hard to imagine. In fact, I read headlines from the newspapers that hate Donald Trump. They were talking about the rescue was a near disaster, could have killed hundreds of people or something. They're looking at it in negative. It was very successful. Everybody got out. We lost equipment for sure. Everybody got out, and it's just an amazing rescue. And their headline is, it put a lot of people in danger. They could have been killed. that was their viewpoint on it, versus the awe of what just happened. How well trained are we? What capabilities do we really have? It's kind of amazing. Now, they don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about, well, you put people at risk. Wow. That's what we talk. And we've been at war with these guys for 47 years. It's time to call an end to it. Look, and Trump has got them on their heels. It's far from done. I don't know if it'll take another week or two. And Trump says it will. We'll see. We'll see. But the aggressiveness of what they've gone and the destruction of all their ability to attack back is greatly diminished everything. It's not zero. It's not zero. And I keep hearing numbers 70, 80, 90%. Who knows? But they still have a few triggers left, and they obviously had something to shoot down that F-15, as well as the A-10. They think the A-10 was a man pad, because it was flying low for rescue mission, and those are effective at a lower range. I want to talk about a Colorado police officer real quickly. A Colorado police officer, he had a serious head injury. He was in a struggle with a suspected drug dealer. And this was last week. It was in downtown Boulder. They responded to ongoing complaints about open drug use in public parks. Now, keep in mind, Colorado has gone very blue, very anti-police, like a lot of blue states. And The So it's good they're going to see complaints still. Officers were speaking to a woman. She was seen smoking suspected methamphetamine, and then she pointed to a man nearby that apparently allegedly sold her the drugs. So the officers approached the subject, later identified as Kai Brown. Now, Kai Brown must not have liked police because he attempted to flee. And the officer gave chase. During the struggle, both the officer and Brown fell into Boulder Creek. Police said the suspect landed on top of the officers, who struck his head on a rock. Despite suffering a serious concussion along with cuts and bruises, the officer was able to help take Brown into custody before collapsing. He was transported to a hospital and has since been released as recovering at home. Now he's apparently got so serious head injury. He's probably a concussion or something. The police chief says this incident is deeply troubling, not only because one of our officers was injured as a direct result of suspect fleeing, but because it highlights the very real dangers that drug trafficking poses to our entire community. Now, this suspect, Kai Brown, was found with multiple individual package baggies, suspected methamphetamine, is facing several charges, including felony drug offense, assault, resisting arrest, and obstruction. Now, the county's attorney office requested a $20,000 secured bond because of the seriousness of what was going on. The judge set the bond at $1,000 with the option for Brown to post just $100 for release. And he's charged with serious drug felony, caused significant and scary injuries to the police. And, the district attorney, Michael Dougherty's a little set back about the whole thing. And he says, given the defendant's criminal history, his actions here, and the injuries suffered by the officer, our prosecutor asked for high secured bond. It was definitely the right thing to do. The police chief, Chief Reardon, is raising concerns about the broader implications. I also have serious concerns about whether the full risk to our community, the severity of this incident, and the risk to the impact of our officers was reflected in the bond decision. This is a pattern that is frustrating because these bond decisions directly impact community safety. According to Boulder County coroner's office, there were 26 fatal drug overdoses in the city in 2025, many of them occurring in public places. And officers, of course, are patrolling those areas proactively, trying to stop that. He says if the water levels in the creek were lower or higher, the situation could have been easily resulted in a life-altering or even fatal outcome, according to the police chief. This is typical of a lot of blue states, though, that activist judges or whatever, they don't think anyone should be in jail, even if it's causing fatalities or potential fatalities, causing injuries and fighting with police and those kind of things. It's unfortunate. Don't let that happen to Arizona. That's all I'm saying. Don't let it happen. We don't need that kind of nonsense, anti-police nonsense. Although I got a story on Phoenix and maybe a little bit of it's there, and we'll figure that out. Good morning, Rebecca. AI. I want to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to hear more about it. We've got a couple of senators and I got a senator and a representative in this article that are dead set against AI. They don't want it. One's Bernie Sanders. Yeah, he's independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. And he works with Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, the two of them are always seen together. I think Bernie supports her greatly. Probably wants her to be in the Senate. Bernie Sanders says AI and robotics are creating the most sweeping technological revolution in the history of humanity. So far, I'm agreeing with him possibly. The scale, scope, and speed of that changes is unprecedented. Congress is way behind where it should be in understanding the nature of this revolution and its impact. See, now I'm getting scared. Just if you want it to work right, get government out of it. This article says many cities have already passed laws against data centers, and some states are considering the same. And of course, data centers are where a lot of that information, and the work is done with AI. Apparently, they need huge amounts of storage space and power to run these things to keep this AI working. Sanders said he's concerned about the effect on young people's attention spans as well as the ability that AI will make jobs obsolete. That's what he's concerned about. He's not concerned about the debt and all the other stuff going on in our country and the anti-police, the open borders as it was. He wasn't concerned about that. He's concerned about jobs may be obsolete. I think we have not a clue. We are totally unprepared for what is coming. It's also concerns over massive water and electricity usage. Both true. The AI is going to use a lot of electricity and mind-boggling amounts of electricity. More electricity than we currently have if we get everything we want, I think. I've read some stuff on that it's going to be amazing amount of electricity and water. Although the water's recycled, it's like a radiator type deal. Water to cool all the stuff down, but it's not. It doesn't hit the gutter. It does get recycled. Potentially damaging effects from chemicals they produce, as well as quality of life issues for nearby residents. I don't know what chemicals would be produced in the AI. I don't think that's our lead chemical problem. But that's just a way to throw some negatives at it, probably. But people about defending it say, look, we've got to maintain global dominance. The U.S. must build its own AI infrastructure industry. I completely agree. And I know Elon Musk early on was asking for some government issues, and he was willing to help with that. Like, let's keep it contained or something. He didn't, but he said he's willing to even stop it for 6 months while they figure that out. Nobody went along, including at the time, I don't think Sanders did. Probably because it came out of Elon Musk's mouth, and that was during Biden. But we need to stay ahead of it. A lot of what's going on in Iran right now and the success of Iran and Israel and all these attacks and being able to get it done, a lot of these military leaders are saying it's with the implementation and the use of AI. I mean, AI hasn't taken over. It's a tool, but it can think so much more quickly and redirect things more quickly and be able to coordinate more quickly than we can. So they put down the slide rules, and we've got this AI as a tool. And if we let other countries get ahead of us, I don't think that's going to be good for us. It's not going to bode well. Sanders says we cannot sit back and allow a handful of billionaire big tech oligarchs. Look at that. Do you put that on a business card? I would like that. I think Elon Musk should put that on his business card as his job title. Billionaire big tech oligarch. And make decisions that will reshape our economy. You know what? Business people have been reshaping our economy since the start. That's what they do. They reshape the economy. They make jobs. They make wealth. They make products making life easier. They make products that enhance us. That's what business people do. I mean, I know you want to call them billionaire big tech oligarchs because that's become a hate word. It says it will reshape our economy, our democracy, and our future of humanity. Yes, they've done that all along. The cotton gin did it. Hydraulics did it. The computer did it. The cell phone did it. All of them. Well, Sanders is scared. He can't handle any more success. He said we need serious public debate and democratic oversight over this enormously consequential issue. The time for action is now. The last thing we need is the government to get involved. What can government do other than screw it up royally? Of course, that way Sanders gets a take of it, though. He gets a percentage. Oh, but the worst thing he could do is get the government involved. John Fitterman, he's a Democrat. He said the emerging chassis of AI must be built by America. We can put appropriate guardrails in place without having to win on AI to China. Without handing the win on AI to China. A moratorium is China first. That's exactly right. I mean, he kind of gets it. Fetterman is becoming more and more awake, less woke, more awake. He's starting to realize how the world works. I mean, he probably knew it before the brain injury, but I think the brain injury slowed him down a little bit. I think he's back, understanding things more. He feels disconnected from the Democrat Party. I was reading some articles on that. I may be able to share this with you, but he feels like he's getting more and more distant from them. That doesn't mean he's going to be a Republican. He still votes a lot with the Democrats. He does. But at least he talks intelligently. He doesn't get stuck on stupid like so many that just want to be anti-Trump. So they get stuck on stupid and just say things that are horrendous for us, horrendous for our economy, horrendous for our people. But they don't care. It's all about power for some. I can tell you, I don't think it's power for John Fetterman. He hurts himself. I mean, he could be a lot more powerful. If he just sided with Chuck Schumer, they would give him a better office or something. It's not what he's doing. I admire the guy. I do. That he has the courage. I admire Rand Paul too, although I don't like what he does sometimes. But he's his own man. And he's I mean, sometimes I'm frustrated with him, but he's his own man. So's Fetterman. Let me see. In Yuma, Arizona was awarded a $1.4 million federal housing grant to reduce lead hazards. I didn't know we had lead hazards, but apparently we do. Improve living conditions in older homes. I've got an older home. Maybe I need some money. I think my home was built in the early 70s, and it says this will help owners address potential health risk tied to lead-based paint, which is most commonly found in homes built before 1978. I mean, if we have lead-based paint in the house, it's going to be in there layers of other paint that's on top of it. I don't think we do, though. I guess you'd have to test for that. Removing lead is a complex process. Yeah, it would be. Goes beyond typical home repairs. Removing lead is not as simple as typical home repair. How would you know? Something tells me we don't have lead in the house. I mean, it's been through many years of redoing stuff, painting and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. We'd have to look. He says, but many of the homes qualify were built in 1978, but this program focuses on homes that were built before 1978, where lead-based paint was commonly used, designed to target these older homes, helping reduce exposure risk, typically for vulnerable populations like children and the elderly. Well, I'm a vulnerable population. We should look at it. For many homeowners, the cost of these repairs can be overwhelming. It does have a direct and long-term effect on the community and the households in our community. It allows families to remain in their homes for a longer time with safety by removing the lead, I guess. Applications for the lead hazard grant are sent to be open on July 1st. Officials say the program is a step towards creating safer, healthier housing conditions throughout Yuma. I don't know what you do if you have lead-based paint. I mean, do you put the guys in the moon suits in there and you have to scrape it off, get rid of the carpeting and throw it all out? Don't know. But I would think if it's in the house, you'd want the carpeting gone. And that's what we just recently did in my house is we got rid of all the carpeting because we had a mold issue. It was a white mold, which was contained in a bedroom because of a leaky pipe that was inside a wall that was never taken care of. So we fixed it ourselves, after doing a lot of reading and talking to people in the industry on the best way to do that. And it was all taken care of. But now I wonder, do we have other issues? Don't know. Find out. I'll find out somehow. I'll have to ask around and see how to detect lead paint. I don't know how I'd find it. I mean, the house has been repainted many times, and it's got a different ceiling, I think, than original. We'll see. We'll check it out. A Massachusetts firm. Massachusetts stands firm on denying Catholic couple foster parent license. Yeah, Massachusetts, you can't be a Catholic. I guess you're not a good parent, according to Massachusetts. And that is serious. That's what they're banning Catholic. They're banning a Catholic couple. This Catholic couple holds biblical views on marriage and sexuality and they said, well, you can't be a foster parent then. Even though there was a December policy that came out that removed the state's radical gender ideology mandate. See, there's an ideology mandate for gender in the state of Massachusetts that doesn't set well with people that are active Catholic Christian. Well, the couple that it's Mike and Kitty Burke. Mike and Kitty Burke. They wanted to become parents. They can't, so they've tried since 22 to become a foster parent. Good for them. I mean, that's loving and giving. They successfully completed hours of training, extensive interviews. Everything was good. They even had a home study at their house. Go and look and say, this is a decent place, not a drug den. It's a decent place to raise a kid and all that stuff. But they were rejected. Because of the couple's statements and responses when they were asked a question regarding the placement of a child who identified as an LGBTQIA. I don't know what IA is, but well, that started a lawsuit in 2023. They started one in 2023, and it's still open. They're still working on it. Massachusetts foster parent licensing policy required applicant parents to promote the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of a child placed in his or her care, including supporting and respecting a child's sexual orientation or gender identity. And it doesn't include any exemptions for religious preferences. Nope, none. Well, the Department of Children and Families issued an emergency amendment that removed the sexual orientation or gender identity language to the policy. Apparently, they just did that. It was an emergency. I guess they saw maybe there's more lawsuits. I don't know. Well, all of a sudden, it's an emergency. They've been fighting this thing since 23, saying, no, you have to go along with your children. You cannot disagree with them. The amendment would strike the requirement that a foster pre-adoptive parent or applicant affirm a child's sexual orientation or gender identity and replace it with a requirement that a foster pre-adoptive parent or applicant affirms a child's individual identity and needs. Okay. So you have to affirm the child's individual identity and needs, right? Is that really a change? I guess it depends on who's asking the questions. I think it's one of those things where they're still LGBTQ required, but they're hiding it. I would guess, and as a strictly guess, because they just didn't get rid of it. They replaced it with affirm a child's individual identity and needs, and that's going to be subjective to whoever the government agent is that's sitting at the desk. I would assume if the individual identity is LGBTQA, do you affirm that? Well, these people won't. Well, based on the rules at the effective time, the court date's going forward. They're not letting it change. Further, they asserted that the denial did not violate the Constitution and was not hostile to religion. Massachusetts says that. Massachusetts says it was not hostile to religion. We love religion. You just can't adopt babies. And it didn't violate the Constitution. I'm not a constitutional expert, but we'll see. They argued the mere fact that the Burkes could not satisfy the LGBTQ requirements, whether due to their religion or otherwise, does not clearly establish that denying their license application was unconstitutional. Well, if it denies their practice of religion, it does. And if you're saying their practice of religion and keeps them from adopting children, then I think we have a constitutional issue that could be discussed. Lori Wyndham, she's the counsel for the Beckett. She said, Mike and Kitty are cautiously hopeful that Massachusetts would finally end its religious discrimination. And just knowing that she said that, I think that's nice. She's the counsel. But my question to her is, why do Mike and Kitty still live in Massachusetts? Why not get the heck out of there and go to a free state? Why live in that state? But that's a different question. They want to live there and they still want to adopt. Isn't that amazing? But that hope turned to heartbreak when Massachusetts chose to keep fighting them in court. I don't know what they're spending, but I'll bet Lori's not cheap. The Commonwealth's doublespeak is exactly why they are pressing for a clear ruling from the court protecting the freedom of religious families to foster and adopt children. And I hope some religious organizations are helping them pay that fee. I would bet they are. Mike and Kitty are still open to fostering or adopting children in the future, but Massachusetts has made it harder for them to adopt any child with its discriminatory decision on their record. And that's why they're asking the court to erase it. The decision's expected by this fall. Boy, how long does it take? It was filed in 2003. It's taken to fall. Justice doesn't work quickly usually. They may be too old to adopt by then. Who knows? They may not want to by then. We'll see. We'll see. I know a lot of you have been hearing about weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s. Under one of the brand names is Ozempic. That's the most common, but there's many GLP-1s. I'm starting to read a few things from doctors that are complaining about its health risk. I haven't done a lot of research on that. I need to get Dr. Joe back on to talk about that, the health risk of that. But I know tons of people that have been on Ozempic, that have taken Ozempic. I do know tons of people who have done that. And there may be health risk, but this article isn't about the health risk. It's about people that are upset about the healthier eating habits of people. Yeah, believe it or not. Do you know who's upset about it? Andy Goodacre. He's a farm owner. Andy Goodacre. This is in the United Kingdom. It's not in the United States. But I thought the story was hilarious. Well, he's facing the prospect of discarding thousands of tons of stored potatoes because the sale of potatoes is continuing to fall. He's got a surplus he can't sell because demand at supermarkets has been declining in years, told the outlet. He currently has about 1.3 million pounds of his potatoes at risk of being dumped. The value is about $158,000. He said, I've never seen a season like it. It doesn't seem as people want to eat like they used to. He's been in farming for 40 years. He said shoppers are increasingly choosing lentil-based alternatives over potato chips and French fries. That's his complaint. We don't have as many people eating potato chips and French fries, which are I think, deemed very unhealthy, basically. I don't think there's a lot of dietitians that would recommend that for a weight loss program. Just eat a lot of potato chips and French fries, or even in general health. Should limit those things. Well, apparently they have been limiting them. He said the appetite suppressing effects of the drugs, meaning the GLP-1s, are directly affecting how much people eat and how often they visit restaurants. And that's causing him concern. It's hilarious. It's like Bernie Sanders being concerned about AI. It's going to be so good, people will lose jobs, which is a ridiculous argument. We would never invented anything if that were the case. But Goodacre said he knows people in the local community who are taking the injections and said the drop in demand for heavy meals is becoming difficult to ignore, like it's a blight on society. We're ignoring heavy meals. Andrew Crook is the president of National Federation of Fish Fryers. He said many regular customers have lost a significant amount of weight using the so-called fat jabs. They now choose to share a single order of fries instead of buying their own. There's definitely factors where people are going to use these jabs, lose weight, and then eat less. And he warned that if farmers cannot turn a profit, they could fall short of growers' shift to more profitable crops. I mean, they're not going to have them. They're going to shift to other crops. That's what they should do. then please do that. If people stop buying potatoes, then grow something else, I would think. Well, Goodacre says he's going to lose his potatoes in April if he doesn't get rid of them. I'd probably donate them to food banks or use it as cattle feed. Well, I guess he needs to talk to a legislator and outlaw weight loss drugs because it's unhealthy for the farmers. It's the most ridiculous thing. He says, he says many American chain restaurants have been increasingly rethinking their portion size. Fast food chains such as Snack Shack, and Chipotle, for example, are among those that have rolled out high protein, low carb menus. Olive Garden introduced lighter portions, featuring smaller servings at lower prices. See, and that just means they're giving the public what they want. They're giving people what they're asking for. They're listening. Well, the farmers need to listen to that and make a change. Grow more lettuce. Chipotle rolled out a high protein cup. Subway added protein pockets. Smoothie King launched a GLP-1 support menu. See, that's entrepreneurism right there. When you realize that everybody's on GLP-1 and they're eating differently, put it on the menu. And I've got a support menu for GLP-1. That's just smart. Patients consistently report that restaurant portions, which they once found normal size, now seem overwhelming. And we've been saying that for years, that the portion size in restaurants now is much bigger than it used to be. And that comes from a Florida obesity specialist, Fernando, who says that the portion sizes got too much. Now you have to buy GLP-1, but it's so expensive. I understand Ozempic is hugely expensive, and but I guess there's so many people on it. There's a lot of people on it that are taking that stuff. And this doesn't include the potential health risk, which I haven't studied a lot yet, but I have been reading a little bit of it. That the health risk is, and you know, under doctor's care, you're doing it according to the doctor policy. You're probably gonna be okay, but how many people do that? Let me see. On Easter, the Democrat Party posted an Easter-themed message, like a video. The message was "Better Times at the White House." It featured former President Barack Obama. And I didn't watch that video, but it had Barack Obama and a bunny. Like the bunny was beside Barack Obama. Better Times at the White House. It came out on the official Democrat Party X account and shows Obama from behind, standing beside a person in an Easter bunny costume. With a monument in the background, it read "Better Times at the White House" and all that. You know, when you get back to better times. Well, it got noticed. A lot of people noticed it, and they noticed, like, well, where's Joe Biden? Joe Biden's the one that actually had the closest relationship to the Easter Bunny, if you remember, right? When the Easter Bunny was directing him around the lawn when Biden was looking lost and going in the wrong direction. The Easter Bunny was right there to steer him. But they're going back to Barack Obama. They're going to skip right over Biden. Biden was a joke, and they wouldn't even admit it while he was in office. Obama had his problems, but Biden was so much worse. Well, the Republican Party weighed in, I guess. "Happy birthday, President Joe Biden. We miss having a president who has physical stamina and functioning brain." And the GOP added that "we know you can't read, but remember posting this?" Question mark. Well, Newsom office, I guess, posted a separate message praising Biden's empathy. Newsom has been on the record many times loving Biden. Even while he was in office, thought he was the best president ever. Newsom. I don't know how he's still a contender, but he is. On the Democrat side of thing, he's still a contender. People love him. And he has destroyed California. And billionaires and millionaires are leaving now because he's promoting this new tax that we're going to just take your wealth, 5% of it, one time, never do it again. Do you believe them? Do you believe one time is going to fix California and now they're in such good shape they'll never need to do it again? It's a lie. Of course. They'll become addicted to it. They're going to take 5% a year for the next 20 years. That adds up to 100%. Of course, it doesn't work exactly like that because it's diminishing, but you get the idea. They're not going to quit. This, I have an article here on these, what these blue states are doing. That 5% thing came up. And there's a lot of states out there that are blue, the blue states. There's a whole wave of them that are coming up with new tax proposals. They are running out of money. They know how to spend. And a lot of it has been on this illegal immigration stuff and leering centers. And look, Trump is on a warpath. Right now, he has put J.D. Vance as the czar of fraud. He is the fraud czar. And he's going to be looking at these Democrat-run governments that have been taking advantage of federal programs, not documented it, illegally giving the money out to people that don't qualify, that don't reach, like the leering centers. That was federal money passed out by the state. And the feds are going to cut them off. Now, what are the states going to do that? Because they've got this ferocious appetite for a lot of money because they want to take care of illegals. Was it New York City that found out they spent $81,000 a year on homeless per person? If you take down the amount of money they spend on homeless, and you divide by the number of homeless that they help, it's $81,000 per person. That's how efficient this stuff is. Well, it's top heavy. It's all going to the salaries of the people managing the homeless problem. Well, those salaries got to go away if we start shutting down the fraud. Well, they got to get the money somewhere, so they're going to take it from anybody that's got it. And right now, it's the billionaires. California is the billionaire tax, and it's the 5% of their net worth. He says, this article says you can have $2 million in liquid assets and $100 billion paper, like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Most of it's just on paper. He actually owns SpaceX. He actually owns, most of the Tesla stock and all stuff he owns. But it's not in $100 bills. It's in paper. He can't just do it. But if you have $2 million in liquid assets and $100 million paper valuation, California could hand you a tax bill, a $5 billion tax bill. I don't know how you have 2 million. Well, they could if they're a billionaire. It says, oh no, he said, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. It wasn't 100 million. It was 100 billion in paper. If you have 100 billion, but only 2 million in liquid, they could send you a $5 billion tax bill. That's not unusual. Hey, farmers have a lot of money. It's tied up in land. That doesn't mean that they're burying money in the backyard like the drug dealers. No, it's in paper valuation. Well, if you have 2 million liquid assets and you get a $5 billion tax bill, it's an asset seizure, and that's the problem. Well, it's more than just that. I mean, that's part of the problem. I mean, they got a lot of issues with it. They're going to chase all the business people out of the country or out of the state. They already have started. Washington State, and I didn't know this, they've never had an income tax in their history of the state. They don't have an income tax. But they've chased enough of the big businesses out, like Boeing and Starbucks and all that stuff, that they need to now. Well, they just passed a tax of 9.9%. Pretty healthy for going to 0 to 9.9, but don't worry about it. It's only on income over $1 million. Yeah, because you don't need $1 million. Nobody should make that much money. So we're going to take 10% of everything you make over $1 million. Well, the moment that cleared the legislature, Starbucks, Howard Schultz, he's the founder. He packed up his bags, he moved to Florida. And then he moved the headquarters to Tennessee. Yeah, so how much money are you going to collect to take care of that? I mean, when you got a loyal resident that has been bringing billions of dollars to your state, producing jobs galore, paying taxes galore, and you say it's not enough, I need 10% of everything you make over $1 million, he says, bye. I don't blame him. He's not alone. So what's I got to do to Washington State now? They're in a bad place to do this. I mean, they're in a place like we're running out of money, guys. We don't have the money. We need to spend more money on worthless projects. How are we going to spend money on all these projects? Well, let's take Howard's money. He's gone. They're going to be in worse shape because they just lost somebody that was giving a ton of money to the state. Not only did they not get more from him, they lost what they were getting. It's going to Tennessee. It's going to Florida. Michigan wants to amend the state constitution to impose a 9.25% top tax rate on incomes over $500,000 for residents of Detroit. And the combined state and local tax rate would approach nearly 12%. Because you got the tax, local rate, put it all on there. Well, if you're in Detroit, you can go right across the border in Ohio. The flat tax rate is 2.75% flat. I don't care how much you make. Indiana, 2.95%. I don't care how much you make. This article says you don't need to be a certified financial planner to do the math. You just need a moving truck. That's what's going on. Especially, we've got more fiber optic cable. We've got more ability, technology to live anywhere and take care of things in another state. Have a conference call. Have all kinds of stuff. This stuff exists. You can do your job. A lot of people do their jobs 1,000 miles away from their office. It's becoming more and more. And yes, I know a lot of states realize they overdid it. A lot of people overdid it. Elon Musk overdid it. And he said, everybody get back to work. And he brought them all back, which I think is more productive, by the way. Well, in California, you know where they're going after the billionaires? The billionaires, by the way, are going to be in the top 1% of the California taxpayers. Do you realize what the top 1% of California taxpayers pay in total for the total bill? If you took the total bill of California and what they collected income tax, the top 1% has paid in 50% of it. 50%. So they're going after them. You didn't pay enough. We need to take your wealth now, not just your income. We need to take your net worth. Just 5%. Yeah, it's easy. Just 5%. Today. Yeah, it's time to cut and run now. The attitude of the state that's going to implement that is scary enough to leave now, because whatever they're coming up with next. And remember, a few years ago, they passed a law that if you leave California, you still have to pay taxes there for a few years or something. Some kind of, we built you, you got successful because of us, you owe us. That failed, by the way. I don't think that was constitutional. 6 of California's 214 billionaires have left before this, before the cutoff. I mean, more have been leaving, I think, but before the cutoff, there's that hasn't passed yet. This tax hasn't passed. It's going to come up on a voter referendum in November. It's going right to the voters. Well, 99% of the voters would be the recipient of the money. 1% of the voters would be the payer of the money. How do you think it's going to go on the vote? What do you think? Probably going to get 99%. Yeah, let's do that. Because there's a lot of evil, greedy people out there that want to take someone else's fortunes. So it's going to pass. I'm predicting anyway. I can't see how it can't pass. When you say it's only going to be against the billionaires, they don't need that much money. They're just greedy. It's going to pass. That's why 6 cut and run as soon as they heard about it. because somehow they're going to make it retroactive. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can bet you can put a law in effect in November and say, by the way, it goes back to January 1 of this year because it's for the current year. So anything you make this year, I don't even know how you do that net worth thing. Well, I mean, people own a lot of assets that aren't necessarily on paper. You know, they may own artwork or cars or airplanes. I don't know. I didn't read the bill. Well, the 6 people that left California took $27 billion in potential tax revenue with them. You know, the $27 billion they were counting on, because that would have been 5% of their worth, at least is what it's on the books. Co-founder Larry Page, the Google co-founder, $170 million on a Miami estate. He just bought an estate and moved there. He moved out of, California, of course. David Sachs, who lived 30 years in the States, packed up for Texas. He says he's leaving, and that proposed tax is an asset seizure, which is exactly right. Why would this matter to you if you're not a billionaire? And most people could be that short-sighted. So I'm not a billionaire. Yeah, I'll vote for that. Those billionaires shouldn't have taken it all. They made it. They didn't take it. They made money. They made wealth. He says, he says the remaining tax base must pick up the tab. In other words, they're not going to collect the money they think they're going to collect. The billionaires are smart enough to leave. So all of a sudden they're expecting to collect $100 billion. They're not going to collect it. Where do you think they're going to get it? Well, they've decided they need it so bad that they want to alienate all their billionaires. They still need it to get themselves out of trouble that they've created. He said the services are going to get cut. And they're going to lower it to people making 150 or 100. Who knows? They're going to lower it to something because they're going to need the money. It always does that. It always works that way. It's not new. Now, Washington State no longer has a zero income tax. How long do you think it's going to be before they start putting income tax on lower numbers? Maybe next year it'll be 800,000. Maybe next year it'll be 500,000. Well, once it starts, I mean, every government program ever does that. Social Security, when it first started, was a volunteer program. Is it now? Of course not. It's mandatory. In fact, you get a Social Security number at birth. No, they don't tattoo it on you yet, but it's there. If you live in one of those states right now that's doing this, and you've built any wealth at all, you need to get out now before it's affecting you. You need to run if you can. Now, if you run a service industry in the state, you can't move that to Texas. You're still a service industry, unless you want to pick up Texas clients or Arizona clients. And we got some work to do in Arizona. I mean, we still have a Democrat governor and a couple of Democrat senators. It's just an embarrassment. You need to do it now before the bill's signed, and that's what this article tries to get across. And wealthy people, it notes, are not a fixed resource. They're mobile. They are organized. They have options, and they're going after them. It's nothing but foolish. But they've got every right to do that. If you live in California, you're voting for these clowns. They keep putting these things in there. And of course, this is even a voter referendum. It's worse than that. It's a voter referendum. So you'll be voting on it yourself. If that's what you want to do. Let me see. I am going to take a break, and I'll be right back. This is Mortgage One Studios, Russ Clark. We'll see you in a few minutes. Mortgage One Studios, Russ Clark back with you. It's and I told you Mortgage One was closed. It's not. It's open. I was shocked. I'm used to having them here at 6 o'clock in the morning. They had other meetings. Yeah, they do that. They don't hold normal hours. Yeah, so anytime. Phone lines. If you want to call in 928-941-0304. See just talking about the blue states. I got that all taken care of. The Bay Bridge. This something happened a week ago, but I kept it. And I wanted to talk about it. Just some of the things cracking down, and some of the blue states, even the blue states, and the blue states are mostly anti-police officer, at least from what they respond to and what they do, and you see it all the time that they're anti-police officer. California, of course, they've been legalizing shoplifting, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and frustrating police officers for quite some time. And I think people get used to it, and they know that they start ignoring the police officers. Well, they just did something on the Bay Bridge that was interesting, and it's been done before. Apparently, different groups decide that they're going to go do a mass demonstration on Bay Bridge and shut it down. I guess that's a fun thing to do. Well, there was a group of bicyclists, those angry bicyclists. Apparently, they rode recklessly through the streets, and they were moving towards the Bay Bridge, this was on March 28th. And authorities tracked the riders in real time as they made their way towards the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, eventually entering via the Hudson or the Harrison Street off-ramp, riding the wrong way into oncoming traffic. Sounds like not a smart thing to do. Well, between the California Highway Patrol and the San Francisco Police Department, they blocked the group. I saw pictures of it. It's kind of fun. They kind of surrounded them with cars and blocked them, and on the street, the cars were stopped, but so were the bicycles. Stopping the takeover before it reached the freeway. It didn't even get onto the freeway. They must have been following social media and knew it was coming. And they decided to be proactive and get this group stopped. Well, the officials said the response was a deliberate and based on prior incidences. So it's happened before. They finally caught on. Similar groups have progressed from city streets onto the bridge. The group was observed riding through the city. Similar incidents in the past have progressed to the group entering the bridge. We worked with the San Francisco police to stage units nearby and continue to monitor. So they stayed ahead of these guys. Yeah, they had some intel ahead of time. Watching them move through the city, riding in the road, cutting off traffic, doing all that stuff. There were 85 of them. That's a mob. 85 individuals were detained and cited for illegally riding bicycles on a freeway. All were released at the scene. All 85 bikes were seized. So the bicycles are going to be checked through a stolen property database, and any identified as stolen would lead to additional charges. And they've done that in similar incidences. There aren't typically stolen bikes. Participants take a lot of personal pride in their rides. Yeah, after they steal them. The authorities are talking about the behavior. The behavior leading up to the incident was dangerous and escalating. Riders swerving through traffic, approaching moving vehicles and pedestrians, in some cases, intentionally riding at oncoming cars. Why do you think they do that? Well, because they get away with it. It just becomes, it's a protest. We're allowed to protest and inconvenience everybody. Or I don't think this was protest. It was just for fun, but we've been watching it forever. Throughout the incident, riders were seen riding directly at moving vehicles, swerving in and out of traffic and coming dangerously close to pedestrians. Similar incidences have occurred in the past. They've watched it. Groups that engage in risky behavior and openly challenge motorists. The youngest of the group of the 85, 9 years old. California Highway Patrol said this was not harmless fun, what we saw. There's no place for games or risky behavior out there on the streets. The Golden Gate Division Chief Steve Ramos, they got their own. Yeah. We will continue to enforce the law and hold individuals accountable. And he praised the joint response. The officers stopped the group before they could wreak havoc on our freeways. Teamwork at its best. So maybe California's turning a page a little bit. Maybe they're going to become more pro, enforcement. Yeah. No more riding on the freeways without getting noticed. We see an article here that says that Arizona guns are fueling the cartel. Yep, the war in Mexico by the cartel. Apparently, Arizona is fueling the guns. Very interested in that. Said nearly 2/3 of illegal guns seized in Mexico in 24 were bought in Arizona. Okay, now it's serious. 2/3 of the guns in Mexico that were seized, anyway, bought in Arizona, smuggled over the border. In 24, The Guardian reported that 62% of the guns seized in Mexico and traced to the U.S. purchased less than a year earlier. A key indicator they were brought to be trafficked. They all came from Arizona. Who's selling all these guns? I mean, I'm assuming it's a lot. It is. And there's some people that are being in trouble for it now because Arizona's become a major source of gun traffic to Mexico. So Chris Mays, our attorney general that I do not like, she said that has devastating real-world consequences for communities and families because we sent guns there. They have a lot of guns. I know a lot of them come from China, too. Guns are basically illegal in Mexico unless you buy them from one of the 2 stores that the government owns, and then they're only going to be non-military type cartridges, whatever, like 22s or something, and then they're going to be only kept in your house. Yep, with some exceptions, but. Let me see. Roughly 5,000 people are now dead or missing due to the conflict, and since it began. So, of course, we're going to lay that on Arizona. Mexican security forces have seized almost the same number of firearms in the region, which is more than 600 miles south of Arizona's border. It represents about 20% of the illegal guns seized in Mexico in 24. The Mexican state of Sonora, which borders Arizona, has the second highest number of gun seizures by the Mexican government because of traffic connection to Arizona. There's only 2 legal gun shops run by the Mexican military. I thought there was only 1, but I guess there's 2. They're both located in Sinaloa. It's easy to buy a firearm in the United States, this thing points out. Yes, it is. And yes, you can pay cash. And according to Aaron Erup, a senior state policy attorney at Giffords Law Center, said that we need to requiring firearm dealers and their employees to undergo training on how to identify and prevent straw purchases and enacting firearm industry accountability legislation that would help reduce the number of firearms bought in the state and trafficked into Mexico. That's a suggestion from Aaron. Additionally, Arizona current firearm preemptive statute blocks local leaders with high numbers of trafficked firearms in their municipalities from enacting policies to address their community's enforcement issue. Arizona should repeal this law to empower local leaders to seek solutions on the ground. Well, yeah, Aaron, and I think Mexico should have a lot of policies enacted to stop drug trafficking into the United States. We'll stop the guns. Yeah, I think so. Or maybe we could just say, look, there's such a need. We wouldn't send them if there wasn't a need that your people all want to buy them. That's what you say about drugs, right? It's United States' fault for buying all the fentanyl. So of course you just supply it. You're just an innocent supplier. It's our fault for buying fentanyl. Maybe it's your fault for buying guns. Of course, there's some people in trouble. Lawrence Gray is a 65-year-old owner of Grips by Larry in Cochise County. Yeah, he's accused of trafficking. That's I'm sure a very serious offense. Assisting in the straw purchase of weapons through 25. 73-year-old Tucson resident Barrett Weinberger. He's indicted alongside him. He's a federal licensed arm dealer. Mays announced the discovery of an alleged large-scale operation that trafficked more than 330 firearms through straw purchases from Arizona into Mexico. I don't know if 330 firearms is a large amount. I mean, I know people that own that many. That's a large scale, 330? She announced there's indictments of 20 defendants. Now, keep in mind, the left hates guns anyway. Who she says were part of a network that included straw purchases paid in cash for buying firearms to be trafficked. Cash is legal, by the way. You're allowed to have that. That's legal tender. 5 of the defendants have pled guilty to Class 3 felony misconduct involving weapons for their role in the operation. The Mexican government is suing 5 Arizona gun shops for their alleged role in selling trafficked weapons. Did I hear that Sprague's was? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I thought Sprague's was announced, what I think is ridiculous. A lot of the people work at Sprague's are law enforcement officers. There's not going to be anything obvious that's going to be sold to a trafficker or anything out the back door or anything. That suit was filed in 2022, and the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a related suit that would have held gun manufacturers liable for cartel gun violence. I remember that one. But the suit against the gun shops, which claims had more direct knowledge of sold guns, continues. Like they had direct knowledge that these were cartel members and they were buying the guns, for bad purposes, with straw purchases and to go over to Mexico. I don't know what the laws are on that. I mean, you can buy a gun in Arizona, and you can sell a gun in Arizona. And I'm assuming if you sell a gun to a felon or somebody that has ill intent, it's a bad deal. And if you know they're a felon, maybe there's a problem. I don't know. You'd have to talk to the lawyers. Beth Strand, the executive director of the Border Resource Initiative of Arizona, says the U.S. keeps feeding cartel power through weapons trafficking and erosion of the country's asylum system. 2 things she's after. We're feeding the power because weapons were bought in Arizona, which are bought and sold in Arizona legally all the time. And if they end up in Mexico, it's not our problem if they were illegally taken into Mexico. I mean, unless these people are helping with that too, and then I understand that's the case. But also the erosion of the asylum system. It's not an erosion; it's an enforcement. Finally, the asylum system has been abused. Everybody understands that. I mean, it's quite well known that everybody is trained to say, I'm seeking asylum, whether you are qualified or not. I mean, seeking asylum is a qualification. And well over 96, 97, 98% of the people don't qualify that claim it. But in the past, what has happened is that they just come in the country anyway, and then they just get lost in the country. So they just say asylum, it's just your ticket in the door. It's not really asylum. They don't show up to court dates. Not the great majority, a very small fraction show up to court dates. But what they want is open borders. And that asylum thing was an open border, opportunity. So she's blaming the United States for all of it. Like they have a right to be in the United States. Everybody has a right to be in the United States. And that's a ridiculous concept. You don't have a right to be in the United States. And I like the way that our State Department and others are talking about it, that it's a privilege to come into the United States. It's a privilege to get a visa. It's a privilege to be here. They can revoke it at any time. Yeah. And they have been revoking some, and they have been saying no. I would love it if the asylum seekers could be, have a lawyer and a judge right that moment. It would just stop the nonsense. when you realize these people do not qualify as asylum. And internationally, asylum is recognized as fleeing to a border state, first country you come to, not traveling through 10 countries to get to the United States. It's the first country. The result is that residents of Latin America countries continue to flee violence that in one way or another, the U.S. helps stoke. The windup at the southern U.S. border where Trump administration has made it almost impossible for them to apply for asylum, which is right under U.S. law. Yes, there is a U.S. law under asylum. And it has been not enforced for years. Trump is enforcing it. If it's not asylum, it's not asylum. This week, the Supreme Court appeared likely to sign off on Trump's aggressive tactics to limit asylum requests. Well, of course. Because the left was using it as a way to flood the United States with illegals. Trump is enforcing it as it was intended. Closing pathways to asylum, it's not a pathway to asylum. It's a pathway to sneak into the country and then take advantage of us. Turns real human desperation into revenge or revenue for the same criminal networks. Meaning what? Revenue for the criminal networks? What does that mean? That the criminal networks are just going to get them in anyway? Is that what he means? I'm going to pay them to do it since the United States won't do it. The United States profits from an unequal relationship while Mexico bears the violence. Mexico creates violence. They accept violence. The cartels run the things in Mexico. And yeah, we used to have mobsters here. We used to have Al Capone in Chicago, ran Chicago. And there were corrupt police that were in on it with him. The federal government finally cracked down on it. It was painful. It was hard. But that kind of mob activity that's allowed in Mexico is the problem. We're not allowed it in Mexico. In fact, President Trump has offered to come in and help you fix it. How nice is that? And you turned your back on him. I mentioned earlier that in Phoenix, they're not a sanctuary city. Did you know that in Arizona, you can't be? Yeah, it's not allowed. It doesn't mean cities don't try hard to help out as much as they can. Phoenix leaders have given the green light Wednesday to a new measure, and this last Wednesday, that increases oversight on federal immigration enforcement. You see, they're no longer saying we won't cooperate. Now it's like oversight. I'm going to change the word. Including implementing new restrictions for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, or any other law agency. See, you can't just single them out, any other law agency. The Phoenix City Council approved the initiative 8-1 after 3 hours of discussion. The new plan bans ICE from using City of Phoenix property as a staging area or home base for operations without special permission from the city manager. Okay. I mean, some states do that. It's kind of rude. Exceptions include Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport in cases in which federal agents have a judicial warrant, which is ridiculous, or an emergency situation in which a suspect is fleeing. Phoenix Police Chief will serve as the main contact for any federal, state, or local agency that wants to use city property for law enforcement. Well, why would you ask when you know the answer is no? The answer is no. The policy will also, and I wonder, do they have, I'll bet the ICE is in the Sky Harbor right now, being TSA. TSA agents are in Sky Harbor. Well, policy also requires city workers to document any civil rights violation during federal immigration enforcement activities and to be trained on judicial warrants and what to do if they encounter federal agents while working. See, this is the same as a sanctuary city. They're just not calling it that. They're calling it oversight on federal enforcement. I don't think it passes the smell test. The city will start documenting and saving information about what federal immigration enforcement is doing in Phoenix and tracking how these actions affect city services like police and fire department. Policy also starts a Know Your Rights campaign. which will be made available in 120 languages. Sounds like Sanctuary City to me. This Phoenix City leaders made it clear that city police officers do not have oversight of the federal government. That's what they said. They made it clear. They don't have oversight over the federal government. Well, that's good because they don't. Federal government can do their jobs. You don't have to help them. That's what Chicago does. That's what Minneapolis does. Yeah, go ahead. And you're going to cause problems. This is a very good policy to start with, but it's not enough. One of the problems is that the chief of police can recommend to authorize it, and the city managers can authorize it. Neither one of those people are elected. And there are some sectors of the community that don't trust either one of them. They don't like police, I guess. Public comment. I don't know that under Arizona law you can restrict or obstruct the federal immigration. However, you don't have to help. It's just step one in a long process. Mayor Kate Gallego, one of the main goals is to have procedures in place where any ICE agents be involved here in Phoenix with criminal or civil violations. That way, the city can step in those cases. Wednesday's meeting was calmer, more collaborative compared to last month's meeting where protesters cut short a different city meeting. This according to Andrea Luna Chavez. She's a Arizona campaign manager with organized power and numbers. Obviously anti-ICE. Much different tone. I think today we're really thankful of the work that's been done, and we definitely want to see more and are coming to demand more right because we see what's happening. And I think this is a great first step the city's taking. And a community transparency initiative in response to January's federal raid at Valley Zippo's location. Well, and Zippo's had a lot of problems. I mean, they deserve to be. And that was a federal raid with they actually did have judicial warrants on that. They're buying a surprise and then a surprise to convert into an ICE agent. And that's true. They bought a $70 million prize to put into a detention center, which is legal. They bought it from an owner, and they can do that. Although saying they're going to cut off water. It was brought up during the February 10th meeting where protesters showed up demanding to be heard. The city council approved moving the initiative forward to a formal vote. Moving what? What issue to a forward vote? The initiative overall. Yeah, Phoenix is going sanctuary by a different name. And they are blocking, they're doing all they can to block that warehouse. We'll see how it goes. But right now, there's, because we have a new Department of Homeland Security that's looking at all that, those plans and all that. We'll see where that goes. Arizona's water recreation drives $11.7 billion in the economy, according to this article. That's a lot. And we need water and we need more of it. And hopefully we get people working on it. Not just because we're in a drought and we do live on water. And this is recreation on water. This isn't even farming. I don't know what it is in Yuma now, $3 to $4 billion in farming. They're just talking recreation. They're not supporting thing on the lower Colorado. The National Audubon Society's Southwest Regional Office, who looking at this thing, they wanted to with a research firm to analyze the economic contributions associated with water-based outdoor recreation. Of course, they want justification for their existence. And they defined as doing the following activities along rivers, lakes, and streams in Arizona. So these activities are anything that you do along the rivers, like bicycling, and that's a water activity. Then it puts cycling, and cycling, bicycling, same thing. And then camping. If you're camping along the rivers and lakes, that's water activity. I don't disagree with that. Fishing, definitely. Hunting, target shooting. Target shooting, not so much, I wouldn't think, but picnicking, relaxing outdoors. If you do it near water, they're counting it as a water activity. Hiking, backpacking, trail riding, horseback riding, climbing, mountaineering, they count as water sports. Then they count swimming, canoeing, kayaking, rafting, paddling, boarding, boating, and wildlife watching as water sports also. So I think they padded the numbers a little bit when they said, "Aha, you're riding your bicycle by the water. That's a water sport." I don't know, but it sounds a little fishy to me. Lena Allen, the director of stewardship for the Arizona Office of Tourism, said, "This new study confirms what residents of our tens of millions of visitors have already experienced. There's a magnetic pull to water in Arizona, especially since we're so closely associated with the desert." I agree. I think there is a pull to the water. I've lived in Arizona since '95, and I've known a lot of friends from California just come here for the river, which is weird. They got a lot of water in California, but I just think we're a nicer place. So it's not that it's illegitimate; it's legitimate, but I just don't know if they padded that number when they start taking bicycling and camping. From the mighty Colorado River to the gentle streams of the White Mountains and the cottonwood-lined San Pedro River, water here delivers life and economic success for communities statewide. Agreed. Arizonans and visitors collectively spend $9.7 billion in Arizona on water-related outdoor recreation. Water-based outdoor recreation supports 72,000 jobs across Arizona, paying annual wages of nearly $4 billion. Recreation along water. That's what gets me. I bike I like to bike on the water too. I mean, I go to the West Wetlands occasionally. I wouldn't consider it a water sport. I just like the scenery. I'm not paying extra for it though. I'm not a tourist though. I don't go into the tourism thing. Recreation added more than $6.9 billion to the state's gross domestic product, which the Grand Canyon, I'm sure, is one of the biggest one, not water. Although the Grand Canyon has a river, but I don't think they all hike the Grand Canyon to see the river. They hike the Grand Canyon to see the Grand Canyon. I mean, the river's a nice attraction, but it's a small part of it. There's a lot more than that. Water-based outdoor recreation is a helpful way to measure the economic contributions of the water in our rivers, lakes, and streams, because without water, much of the economic activity would cease. People don't fish in dry lakes or kayak in dry riverbeds. Absolutely true. Those are definitely water necessary. But if I hiked the Grand Canyon, it wasn't a water activity. Let me see. It creates more economic output, which is $11.7 billion. They counted. Golf only brings in $6 billion in Arizona. Wine brings in $5.7 billion. The wine industries. Yeah, I was going to say it's more than that if you're talking consumption, but no, that's industry. Mining creates $21.2 billion. Wow. I know they've waited for 20 years to open up a copper mine. I think it's in Yavapai. And it's just regulations and stumbling blocks to get that thing open. But Yavapai generates $720 million in economic output, supports 4,500 jobs in the state. And that's just one county at water-based recreation. Which the most popular water-related activities among Arizona include picnicking, relaxing outdoors, 21.4%. That's a water activity? Which, okay. I mean, Joe Biden does a water activity, goes out to the beach and he lays in a chair. Do you consider that a water activity? Water sports, definitely, 14.1%. Fishing, 100%, 12.2%. So they're counting relaxing as a water sport, even if you don't go in the water. I think they're padding it a little bit. I got an op-ed here from Andy Biggs. Andy Biggs, of course, is one of our representatives out of the great state of Arizona and running for governor. In fact, right now, he's probably polling well in the lead on the Republican side. it shows pretty close on the runoff. But of course, it all changes after the primaries. The primaries, because so many people that want someone else will muck that up a little bit. But after the primaries, we'll know a real deal. But we cannot reelect Katie Hobbs. That's just so terrible. And Andy Biggs talks about. He said, "I brought my balanced budget amendment to the House floor. It failed. Meanwhile, the national debt's reached $37 trillion and counting." I like his idea of balanced budget. He should be our governor. You know, constrained spending. And I got to tell you, we're doing a pretty good job right now. I mean, but it's not the governor, because her demands have been much more than what the House has allowed. The Republicans have been able to keep that governor at bay. Otherwise, we'd have another Janet Napolitano runaway, and we'd spend the next 10 years trying to clean up the mess. Democrats, and Andy says Democrats once claimed to support that principle, meaning a balanced budget. If Congress cannot spend more than it takes in, Democrats used to support it. And yet only one voted yes. Let that sink in. Opposing a balanced budget is not some noble policy disagreement. It's a refusal to confront a crisis. Interest on the national debt already costs more than the national defense. By mid-century, interest payments are projected to double our defense spending. The debate is not about making a spreadsheet look tidy. Revenues are not the problem. Overspending is. American families already understand the difference. They pay the mortgage and buy groceries first. They skip the extras. They live on what they earn. That is far from radical. It's common sense. The debt passed $39 trillion on March 17th, up $4.5 trillion in just 2 years. That works out to $289,000 per household. Interest payments alone are projected to hit $1.04 trillion this year, or about $7,700 per household, just to service Washington's tab. By the time you finish reading this, the number will be higher. And that is before you factor in waste, fraud, and outright abuse. Since 2003, the federal government has made nearly $3 trillion in improper payments. The states are hardly better. In Minnesota, the federal prosecutor and half of more than the roughly $18 billion in federal funds sent to 14 state-run programs since 2018 may have been stolen. Half or more. Billions of taxpayer dollars disappeared through fake autism centers, phony housing providers, and shell companies. The federal government and the states are ripping you off. We have known for years that government spending was out of control, but at the scale, waste no longer looks like a bug in the system. It looks like a feature. Democrats' refusal to vote for a balanced budget amendment shows they have no interest in fixing it. They would rather keep the autopilot running and the national credit card maxed out than make the tough decision to bring spending in line with what American families want and need. That refusal was on full display last week. Democrats chose more debt, more inflationary pressure, more fiscal chaos. They are not worried about bankrupting the country. But their no votes were not only warning sign. Congress has already seen the consequences of fiscal irresponsibility and still refuses to change course. The Biden-Harris years added trillions in new debt and helped deliver the worst inflation in 40 years. Prices surged while paychecks lagged. Working mothers stretched every grocer dollar, felt it. Seniors on fixed incomes felt it. Families living paycheck to paycheck felt it. That is the real world price of refusing to balance the books. I offered a real fix. My balanced budget amendment would force Washington to do what every family already does. Live on what comes in. Pay the important bills first. Cut the extras and stop borrowing from the next generation to finance today's spending. This is not complicated. It's basic math. It's common sense. It's America first. As we approach America's 250th birthday, the best gift we can give the next generation is a government that finally lives by the same rule every family does and stop pretending this mountain of debt does not matter. That was Andy Biggs running for governor of Arizona. I wish him luck. Indiana has tightened rules on migrant truckers. They require visa and English proficiency. It's about time, and that's gone on for a long time. And there's been a lot of deaths on the highways because of it. Some of it's nationally publicized, some of it's not. But it's quite regularly that these police officers talk to truckers on the road pulling 80,000 pounds down the street. They can't talk to them. They don't know the language. It's not acceptable. And Trump is changing that. But of course, it's state level that they've issued the license. Now, the federal rules are supposed to follow them. And that's where the fraud and abuse comes in. Because it's a federal license, the CDLs. And they're supposed to monitor it and police it, and they're not. The lieutenant governor, Micah Beckwith, Indiana, said, moving forward, all future non-citizen CDL applications will need one of 3 approved work visas, while also requiring the driver to demonstrate proficiency in English. Good. And this comes after cameras. The cameras were embedded with federal safety officials in Florida, captured troubling encounters with truck drivers who couldn't read road signs or communicate. It made a big difference. I mean, that's a great visualization. So good. And Fox News is the one that did it. Good for them. State troopers said that up to half the truckers at some Florida way stations fail to meet English proficiency requirements. Any employers who knowingly hire illegal drivers without a valid CDL will face a $50,000 fine. That's in Indiana. Good for them. And again, the key is knowingly. Do your due diligence and you'll never have to worry about it. This is a great first step in making our streets safer for Hoosiers. Now it's our duty to enforce these new laws and prevent any more senseless deaths, and there have been. In February, an illegal truck driver from India allegedly ran a red light, causing a fatal crash in Hendricks County, Indiana. Singh Shukdeep, wow, received his commercial license May of 2025, despite being caught and released after crossing U.S. border illegally in 2018. Should have never happened. Harjinder Singh, an illegal immigrant from India, was charged after a tractor-trailer crash left 3 people dead. Very famous. Yeah, he made an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike through an official use-only access point at St. Lucie County, blocking all lanes of the highway and leading to the crash. He probably couldn't read the sign. Plus, he couldn't drive. Harnet Singh, 25, which we already mentioned, also an illegal immigrant from India, was riding as a passenger at the time of the crash. Also entered the United States illegally and obtained a CDL in California. He's facing 3 counts of vehicular homicide, according to officials. Good. And California needs to pay a price. California is willfully doing that, putting people on the road illegally, knowing they're not safe. There should be a price to pay. I don't know that there is. Fetterman. Let me see, where was he? Oh, he was with Mark Levin. Mark Levin on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Great guy, like truly a scholar, constitutional scholar. Great guy. He interviewed Fetterman. He did that just Saturday. He said there's been a fracturing between me and my party, particularly it's been Israel. That might isolate me politically, but I have no regrets because I've always felt that it's the moral clarity, and I never checked, whatever politics are behind it. He criticized Democrats who campaigned with streamer Hussein Piker. Now, Hussein Piker is a far-left internet personality who has seen and done some real controversial stuff. Like he said during a stream in 2019, that America deserved 9/11. And he called religious Jews inbred, defended Hamas as being 1,000 times better than Israel, mocked discussions of anti-Semitism on college campuses, and said it doesn't matter if rapes occurred during Hamas October 7th massacre in Israel. Democrats have to decide whose side you're on. Are you proud to stand with that kind of an individual or stand with Israel? That's Fetterman. Obviously, the Democrats are not standing with Israel, a lot of them, including some Jewish guys like Chuck Schumer. He's Jewish. He doesn't stand with Israel. I may have lost the socialist vote and the pro-Iran vote in my party, but that's part of my party that's growing, unfortunately. Fetterman also broke some of the colleagues on the government shutdown. He's got a firm stand against the harm it's doing to federal employees. He said that used to be the Democrat Party position. We'd never, ever shut down our government. That's the wrong thing. You're going to hurt workers. You're going to hurt America. What was deeply offensive to me was Democrats knew it would have no direct or indirect impact on ICE. And that was the whole demand. They demanded changes for ICE. They were blocking the bill because they wanted ICE to not be funded. Well, ICE is already funded. What they're doing is shutting down TSA and Secret Service and something else. There's a couple of them. Oh, FEMA. FEMA is the other one. Fetterman says TSA agents already had a difficult job, and now they've gone without pay for more than 40 days. That should be a kind of people we're fighting for. And we betrayed them for the wrong reasons. We have a responsibility as senators to keep our government open, and we find a way forward without punishing all these innocent workers and making our nation less safe. Amazing. The Health and Human Services, they announced a national program on something they're studying. That's, of course, Kennedy is involved in that. It's about microplastics. Microplastics. I guess they're all over the planet. They go into the deepest parts of the oceans and the fish and everything's got microplastic, little bits of plastic. Department of Health and Human Services are introducing a first of its kind program to study them and the effects they have on the human body, according to HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm in favor of that. He said there's $144 million national program will be called STOMP, which stands for Systemic Targeting of Microplastics. The program will bring toxicologists, data scientists, and other experts together to create standardized tools capable of detecting and quantifying microplastics in the human body, research the effect they have on humans, and develop strategy to remove them from the body. I don't know how you do that. So we are not dealing with a distant or theoretical risk. We are dealing with a measurable, growing presence inside the human body. Research shows that microplastic present in human organs, in blood, and the placenta. The program's research will prioritize those at greater risk, including pregnant people. Pregnant people? Really, Kennedy? You put pregnant people? I bet he didn't. I bet someone else did that for him. I mean, pregnant women, children, and workers with high exposure rates. Microplastics are tiny particles from larger plastic items that have been detected in the human body and external sources. They enter the water supply through littering, storm runoff, and more. The particles, which are less than 5 millimeters in size, cannot be fully removed by traditional water filtration methods, according to the World Health Organization. And that's EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. announced that the agency has added microplastic to its contaminant candidate for the first time, opening the door for future regulation. So it's never even been on the list for the EPA. Lee Selden said the containment candidate list is a list of substances that are not subject to proposed or existing drinking water regulations, but are known or anticipated to occur in public water systems. Adding a substance to the list does nothing to regulate or limit its use, but prioritize funding, research, and information collection to learn more about how these products affect drinking water. This is a direct response to the concern of millions of Americans who have long demanded answers about what they and their families are drinking every day. Dr. Celine Grounder, a CBS News medical contributor, said adding microplastics to the CDL is the beginning of a long timeline, not the end of one. Researchers have found that microplastics are widespread in human and in the human body, which suggests potential health risk. But we don't yet have the kind of evidence regulators require to set limits. No national data showing how much microplastics are actually affecting drinking water. There needs to be clear evidence linking typical exposure levels to specific health outcomes. Well, I'd be curious about that, about the research, how much microplastics in people, what effects it's having. Obviously, they haven't even done any of that yet, but we know it's there. The CDL is updated every 5 years. Pharmaceuticals are also set to be added to the contaminant candidate list. That's according to Zeldin. Medications enter the water supply through human waste and improper disposal. The EPA has also released human health benchmark for 374 pharmaceuticals, giving authorities a critical new tool to assess risk and take action when drug residues are found at certain levels. The existing list, CCL5, includes 66 chemicals, 12 microbes, and 3 chemical groups, pre- and polyfluorinated substances, PFAS. Well, they're going to be adding more. Hopefully we learn something from it. Environmental, since we're talking about it. I have a story on J.D. Vance, but I don't have enough time. Apparently the left, who loves renewable resources, and I'm okay with it, but they won't admit the dangers. They won't admit the eco-friendly technologies are taking out birds and other wildlife. They've been against nuclear forever, but maybe that's softening a little bit. But wind and solar require thousands of additional acres. It's not ideology, it's physics. And it's rushed to satisfy arbitrary net zero targets. The environment supposedly being protected gets destroyed. Wind and solar facilities kill wildlife, fragile habitats, disrupt ecosystems, and leave ecological wreckage far beyond what the green lobby cares to admit. Yeah, the green lobby, of course, they support it. And I do. I like it. And when it's used right, I like it on the roofs of houses. It makes perfect sense. The solar farms out in the outdoors, they create more problems than we know. I mean, it's going to kill some habitat. Politicians and well-funded environmental NGOs will sell wind and solar as the natural world's saviors. But the data shows something entirely different. These projects are not merely displacing wildlife. They are killing it on an industrial scale. One assessment found that wind farm and solar farms overlap with 2,310 threatened amphibian birds, mammals, and reptile species globally. 36% of the world's threatened species. The green utopia is being built on the graves of the vulnerable. Another found that 2,206 operational renewable energy facilities had degraded 886 pocketed areas, 746 key biodiversity areas, 400 distinct wildlife areas. Researchers project that the footprint will expand another 30% as more natural refuges are industrialized. A peer review of 84 peer-reviewed studies of onshore wind installations documented 160 cases of species displacement affecting birds, bats, and various animals. Golden eagle, the toll is measured in death. In the western United States, documented mortalities more than doubled between 2013 and 2024, 110 to 270. 42 African raptor species documented an 88% decline over 20 to 40 years and identified wind farms as a major factor. In China, the rush for wind power coincided with a nearly 10% decline in overall bird population after wind farm constructions. Critical migration routes for 330 bird species. Local communities reported reduced bird populations and increased pest activity. That goes hand in hand. Maybe that's why we have flies in Yuma. We need to report birds. Recent research shows that in humid regions, large-scale solar plants can trigger near total vegetation collapse. Panels block sunlight after the microclimate and destabilize soil. When roots disappear, the ecosystem's foundation goes with them. The desert ecosystem solar array disrupt plant growth cycles and harm the microorganisms that keep the desert alive. And I'm running out of time. But I think it's okay to look. It disrupts when we put up a city too. I mean, some of it we need to look at, but we need to study it. We need to look at it before we say it's the savior for the planet. I agree. I'm not a big fan of too much. I don't dislike them, but I think nuclear is our best way, and it's eco-friendly. Unless you spill it all over the ground. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day. I'm signing off from Mortgage One. Yeah, I got it right today. I'll be back.